It is 6 a.m. and if you love Africa and you love wildlife, you're in the right place. This is Safari Live. Ready? Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Welcome to Safari Live. Welcome everyone. My name's Hayden Turner and we are sitting in the middle of the African bush. We are on Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, South Africa. I'm crying a little bit this morning because it's 9 degrees. Or if you're anywhere else in the world that measures in Fahrenheit, it's 49 degrees. It is a bit chilly this morning. And I've got VM on the back here with me, amazing cameraman. He's my eyes in the skies. And welcome to all the New South Wales schools watching in Australia. This is a school special for the first hour. Jamie Paterson was on the other vehicle and she's out looking for lots of creatures as well. It's so good to have you on board. This is a Wild Earth and Taronga Conservation Society collaboration. We've gotten together and we've come directly into your schools, which is so exciting for me. There's a lot of schools watching today, and you know what I'm going to do straight away? I'm going to read out those schools because I think it's really important that we give you a bit of a shout out straight up. So here we go. Here's the list of schools that it's watching today. So when you hear, I'm still crying here a little bit, everyone. It's not that I'm not a bit sad. It's really cold and my eyes are streaming. Right, when you hear your school name shouted out, I want to hear a big cheer. We want to hear it all the way from Australia to Africa here. And VM and I will give you the thumbs up if we hear it at the end, okay? You ready for this? So as soon as you hear your school, give us a big shout out. I want you to take the roof off your school. We have Barrenjoey Montessori School, Canley Heights Public School, Chifley Public School, Camila High Special Education Unit, brilliant, Daceyville Public School, Dawson Public School, Five Dock Public School, Floraville Public School, French's Forest Public School, Iluka Public School, Janali East Public School, Mariong Public School, I'm still crying, oh sorry about that. Mara Public School, Middle Harbour Public School. Hi guys, that's my boys' school and it's so good to see you guys. I can't really see you, but I can feel you. Hi Jack and everyone in Year 5, Mr. Manning, great to hear you and see you. Newcastle Senior School, Nowen Docks Public School. That's brilliant. I used to work out that way when I was a young fella. Arana Heights Public School, Orange East Public School, Plumpton Public School, Stratford Public School, Stewart's Point Public School, Sydney Children's Hospital School. Absolutely fantastic to have you on board too, guys. Warners Bay High School and Warwick Farm Public School. Wow. That is amazing. So give us the biggest cheer. Guys, that is so great to have you on board. And we are going to go along now and try and find whatever we can. So remember, we are in the African bush. And I'm still crying from joy and crying from the cold. We are going to try and find what we can. And we're going to just drive along and anything could happen. You've got to remember, everyone, that this is the wild African bush. The sun is just coming up. We did hear lions around here last night. We were all going to our rooms and we heard this big ooh, ooh, and it was all around this area, so we're not sure. We may come across them. It's very cold and they'll probably be feeling it a little bit as well. But we've got lion in the area, we've got leopard in the area. Yesterday morning we saw leopard. We also have wild dog. And we've got giraffe, elephant, buffalo, but lots of small animals as well. And I think that's really important to know that all the different animals in the ecosystem, and you may have done food webs or food chains or habitats, and some of these words may ring home to you and some you may be about to learn. And if you don't know any of the words that we use on the program this morning, ask your teachers. I forgot. Round of applause, all the schools that we mentioned, a round of applause for your teachers. That's the most important thing. If it wasn't for the teachers, you wouldn't have this together. So hats off to all you teachers out there that pulled this together to have a live cross from Africa right into your schools. Now sometimes we lose a little bit of signal down here and I'll explain how we're doing this later on. So what we're going to do is go down in this little dip, and I made loose a little bit of signal. So before I do that, we're going to cross over to Jamie, and I want you to meet her. She's absolutely incredible. Jamie Paterson. Cross over to her, see what she's up to, and let's go and try and find some animals for you. We'll see you just now.
And isn't Hayden incredibly kind? But good morning to all of you. It is lovely to have you here on this crisp and chilly winter's morning here in the African bush. My name is Jamie, and the man behind the camera, the very skilled man behind the camera, is Brian Joubert. And of course, with Brian comes a very special person known as the Thumb. And if you keep watching and sending us through wonderful questions, then perhaps every now and again the Thumb might make an appearance, but he's quite shy. Everybody say a very good morning, or in your case, a good afternoon to Brian and the Thumb. So, first thing in the morning, my absolute favorite time to be out in the middle of the African bush. Even though it's a little bit cold on mornings like these, the best part of it is the feeling of excitement, and it immediately takes me back to my childhood. Well, I grew up in a city, so I didn't get to experience the bush every single day, but I was lucky enough to go on holiday to the Kruger National Park regularly, or different reserves throughout South Africa. And this has childhood memories of mine getting up really early, grabbing a cup of coffee, and heading out to see what we can find. And this is the perfect time to be out because the nocturnal creatures, the lions, the leopards, the hyenas, the aardvarks and the honey badgers and all kinds of things are still awake. And at the same time, the sun is slowly creeping up towards the horizon. And for us, that means that the daytime animals are also coming out. So cheetah, wild dog, all of the beautiful birds, antelope species. There is just so much to see out here. I don't even know where to start. Hayden's told you about the lions that were calling last night. I also heard a leopard sawing. Now, who knows what a leopard sounds like? Any of you ever heard what a leopard sounds like? Because they can roar, but they don't roar like a lion. A leopard makes a sound that we call sawing, because it sounds like somebody with a big saw trying to cut down a tree. Now, I'll do my very best impression. I have to tell you, I'm not very good at it. But I'll try and give you my best impression of what a leopard sounds like. They sort of go... I'm not nearly as good as a leopard is. And Mrs. Yukana and Warwickfield Public School, it's lovely to have you on board with us, and I hope you are enjoying our live safari experience. And you wanted to know whether or not we are scared of the wildlife. Scared? No. But it is important to remember that they are wild and that we are in their home and that they are bigger and stronger than us. Especially things like elephants, but anything out here is much stronger and much more resilient than a human being. Plus, we're in their home, not the other way around, which means we treat them with utmost respect because they are capable of hurting us, but they don't want to. And Madeline, who is 6 years old, welcome to our lovely wild safari experience. And we're going looking for the lions this morning. Madeline would like to know, why do lions eat meat? And the answer is, Madeline, because that's the way that they're built. So their digestive system and their teeth mean that they can't eat plants, they can only eat meat. And although it might seem very cruel to us as human beings, if you think about it, lions are necessary because if they didn't catch and eat animals, there'd be too many animals. There'd be too many buffalo, there'd be too many other things. And what that in turn means is that there wouldn't be enough plants to feed them all. So that's why lions eat meat. They help to keep the population of the herbivores under control. And they only eat what they need when they're hungry. They're not greedy. And Rosella, who is 7 years old from Daceyville Public School, lovely to have you. We're busy looking for lions. Let us see what we can find out here on this bright and beautiful morning. Rosella wants to know why lions have manes. And the answer to that is only the boys have manes. So what is it that the boys do that the girls don't do? Well, the answer to that is that they fight. In order to have access to females, they fight for the right to pass on their genes and to have little lion cubs. So the mane protects their neck and their head from another male lion fighting with them. It also makes them look bigger and scarier, and for the females that means that they look more attractive, because it means that they're going to be good fathers that can look after the cubs, or at least look after the cubs' home, their territory. So that's why only male lions have manes. Females don't, because they don't need them. They don't fight as much, and a mane makes them very hot and overheat and heavy. So the lionesses don't have manes because it means that they can hunt for longer, they can run for longer, they don't overheat, which means that they can provide for themselves and for their little babies. Now, if we're really lucky, there are lots and lots of lion cubs out and about at the moment. We've got lion cubs everywhere. We've just got to try and find them. I saw them yesterday, and I'm hoping that they're going to make an appearance. They're only a few months old, tiny little fluff balls. Now, while we go off in search of lions and other wondrous things to show you, let's jump on the board with Hayden and find out where he's going.
Well, it's a little bit quiet, I have to say, but that happens at this time of the morning, and it also is very, very cold. We're just driving around. We went down to check out where Karula, our famous leopard, was, and she's gone now. But yesterday, she had some food up in a tree there, and she had her cubs down the bottom, and a hyena was waiting down the bottom as well for any food that fell out of the tree, and it sure did. One of the cubs got up there and had a little bit of a feed, and the last bit of food fell to the ground, and the hyena picked it up really, really quickly and crunched through those bones. Hyenas have an incredibly powerful bite and a powerful crunch. They've got teeth that are like at the back, shaped a little bit like that, and they crush through bones. Very, very powerful. They eat bones, they eat nearly all the animal, and they digest it, and guess what colour their poo turns? Really, really white, and that's from the bones, all the calcium that they eat. So we can tell a lot from different animal droppings. We can tell what animals have been here, elephants, and we'll have a little look at that in a minute. But yeah, I know it sounds a little bit gross and a little bit disgusting, but you know what, it's a really, really good thing, because it lets us tell how long ago animals were here or not. I'm going across a dam wall at the moment. There's not a lot of water in it. I'll just show you there. So that's how dry it is here, kids. It's really dry. That's the last little bit of water left in this dam. So you know that a lot of animals really need water, and they also need vegetation, which is the habitat. So there's lots of different things they need, and the balance has to be right. At the moment, it's the middle of winter, very cold this morning, middle of winter, which means that not a lot of rain comes in this area. So it might be worth asking your teachers if you could do maybe a little project or have an investigation in class about habitats, which is where animals live. It's just a fancy word really for where animals live. And also climate. So we've got a question from Zander at Daceyville Public School. Great to have you on board, guys. Really, really great. You want to know why crocodiles live in the water? Well, crocodiles are one of the oldest creatures still living on our planet. They're living dinosaurs, those guys. And they've adapted. They've found what we call a niche, or a special spot in the habitat, and water was the place that they were most successful. So, you know, animals find a little spot that they're very successful at, and then they stay in that spot. And if they're really successful, they last for a very, very long time. And crocodiles, another thing you could probably research or look up with your teachers, do a little project on crocodiles and find out how long crocodiles have been around, where they live, all the different species in the world, because they occur everywhere, or not everywhere, but a lot of places, and there's numerous species. In Australia, we've got the biggest one, Saltwater crocodiles. We've got a beautiful female, I think it's a female, saltwater crocodile at Taronga Zoo if you ever get a chance to get there. But you can also go onto the Taronga Zoo website and have a look up crocodile. And I think there might be a picture of her, but she's magic. I'm pretty sure it's a female. But there's crocodiles here in Africa as well, not on the reserve we've got, but there's African crocodiles called Nile crocodiles. We've got a question. I think I just want to get the person's name again, please. I've just got an earpiece in my ear, kids. Can you spell for me? Oh, lovely. That's a cool name. Saris. I couldn't quite hear through my little earpiece, so I've got the directors talking to me in this little earpiece and giving me your questions, which is so fantastic. Saris, cool name, from Five Dock Public School wants to know, is it true that hippopotamus get out of the water at night get out of the water at night, I think was the question. It is absolutely true, Saris, and you know why they do that? They do that because it's the coolest time of the day. Sometimes, I'm just looking up the road here for any animals. I'm going to go down here. I think there might be some antelope down the bottom here we can have a look at. And VM has also got his eyes open for me. But Saris, just to finish your question, they do get out of the water at night. We don't have any hippo around here at the moment, but they can travel really long distances, mate. And, you know, that isn't enough water down there for hippo, but there used to be hippo in that dam, and they get out at night and they feed on the grass. They're like big lawnmowers. They're the lawnmowers of Africa, and they feed on grass. A lot of people think that they feed on plants that live in the water, but that's not true. They feed on grass all around here, and they mow the grass, and just before the sun comes up, they head back to the water for safety because they find water is their safe place, and that's where they spend most of the day. They've got very delicate skin, hippopotamus. So again, maybe do a little bit of research on hippos, because there's two different species of hippos. There's the common hippopotamus, or the big one, and then there's another one up in West Africa which you could probably research, and I'm not sure if you knew this, that's called the pygmy hippopotamus, and that hippopotamus is in some areas very, very endangered and quite threatened. So maybe do a bit of research with your teachers and have a little look about why. They're a smaller one, and they spend more time in the forest than they do in the water. Really good to compare the two species. Oh my goodness, kids, it's freezing. As we go down the hill here, it gets colder. Wow, I've got a great question here. Micah from Middle Harbour Public School. Hi guys, know you guys just around the corner, and Mr. Manning and Jack and all your mates are watching right now. And Micah, great question. Let's just get through this bit and I'll answer it for you. What's the rarest animal? Well, I'll tell you what the rarest animal is at the moment, which I haven't seen here on this reserve. One of our other presenters, Brent, has seen it. And this will really ring home to you, Middle Harbour public, because I know you have done some work on this, on a project, but it is a pangolin, an African pangolin. Now, I know that you did a project on Sunda pangolin in Indonesia, but here we have African pangolin. They look very similar, but that's the rarest animal, I reckon, and I would love to see one here in the wild. Again, you know lots about it, and maybe just get Mr. Manning to have a little look and have a comparison of the Sunda pangolin, the one that you studied, and the African one. Okay, whilst I'm looking for some animals, I'm going to cross over to Jamie because I'm sure she's got something really interesting to tell you. We'll see you just now.
Well, one of the things that you have to do when you're a safari guide is basically to act like a detective. So you're looking for clues to try and figure out where the animals might have gone. Now, what do you think might be the biggest clue that an animal would leave behind? Well, on these perfect sandy roads, one of the things we look for, if you've ever been on the beach and you've seen where people have walked, it works exactly the same here, and this is known as tracking. So looking for where an animal's footprint is in the sand. Now have a look at the sand and see if you can see what I have seen. It's not all that easy to see, which means I'm going to jump out and show you. But there you go. something walked there and made a patch of, or an imprint in the soil. Let me jump out and let me show you exactly what it is you're looking at, because it's not always that easy the first time round. You've got to build up your detective skills by practicing. And I can actually turn all my lights off. We don't need to go around with bright lights now that it's getting light again. Okay, so we're looking at something big, but I'll show you why I know that. Let me find a nice stick. Always important, actually, before you go jumping out of the car, to check that there's nothing around you. But let's have a look at this. So, something walked down this road, and I'm just trying to figure out exactly where the best one is to show you. I think this will probably be one of the best. So something walked down this road, and it left its footprints. And what you're actually looking at is, this is a toe, this is a toe, this is a toe, and this is a toe. Something with 4 toes, and then here's the heel of the animal over here. So this whole footprint, look how big it is. If you compare it to the size of my hand, it's the size of my hand. So something big with paws walked down this road, and in this case, I'm certain that it's a lion. And because of the size of the track, and because I've spent a lot of time practicing my detective skills, I can tell you that it was a male lion walking along this road. Now, there's another thing I can tell you. This was made not long ago. Maybe a couple of hours, maybe even just a few minutes, because the tracks are very, very clear, very fresh. After time, as the wind starts to blow, as vehicles start to move across, it becomes less and less clear and harder to see. But first thing in the morning like this, which is why it's so great to be out here, this is the perfect time to go tracking, and you're going to help me keep an eye out for these big cats. I think this male is still somewhere here, and he's going that way. So he's coming along down this road. Let's go see if we can't figure out exactly where he went. I'm going to try and follow him. Jump back in. And I'm a big baby when it comes to the cold, so I'm going to put my hot water bottle, my bright pink hot water bottle, back inside my jacket so that I stay nice and warm. And let's go see if we can't find this male lion. So what do male lions do at night? He's going to be walking along, roaring, marking his territory. Let's go and see if we can't figure out exactly where he went. In the meantime, though, Hayden has found his antelope of the day, which is one of my particular favorites. Let's go and have a look at what it is.
So we've just come up onto this lovely little plateau area now, we call the quarantine area, and I've come across these 2 beautiful antelope, and I know Jamie loves this antelope as well, but they are looking at something which is really interesting. I'm just going to gently go forward a bit. These are called impala. Now they're quite common. When I say common, there's a lot of them. There's not a lot of them right here, right now, but this is a male, and I'm just going to get up a little bit closer. Beautiful antelope. He's definitely looking at something, and when I say looking at something, these antelope will keep their eyes open because they are a prey animal for carnivores. But the really, really interesting thing, there's another one down below. He's just walking in there. We'll go around the other side of this tree, and then there's another one there feeding. Wow, how cool is that? Well, it's not often you get the chance to hear my boy ask me a question in Africa, but hello buddy, how are you, Jack? My son Jack in Middle Harbour Public School is asking what are the animals on the top of the food chain. Well, fantastic question, buddy, and it does work from the top down or from the bottom up, whatever way you want to look at it. From the bottom up, it's the grasses, and then it goes up and up and up and up, and then from the top down is what we call the apex predators. And what we have here, apex predator-wise, or the top of the food chain, lion, leopard, African wild dog, hyena, and then you could go to some other cats as well, caracal, serval, and you can work down from there. So, but you can build a food chain also, or a food web, and see what other animals come into that. And maybe that's something you could do with Mr. Manning. You can see what sort of animals fit into that food web. So a chain goes straight down, but a food web is exactly what it says, like a spider web. It's all meshed together. And you could do a food chain from a raptor, which is a bird of prey, maybe from an eagle all the way down, or a martial eagle in Africa or something like that. But great question, buddy, and I can't believe I'm sitting here talking to you in Africa, mate. Hello to everyone at Middle Harbour School. 100 years old as well this year. 100 years old, Middle Harbour. Just like the zoo, it's our centenary year at Taronga Zoo, and fantastic to have you on board, guys. But those antelope, those impala, they really are beautiful. Got a lovely, great question from Melissa. Hello, Warwick Farm Public School. Great to have you on board. Melissa, good question. Are animals more active around sunrise and sunset, or are they more active during the day? Well, you know what? It all depends on lots of things, Melissa, but you've got different creatures that are active during the day, and you've got different creatures that are active during the morning and afternoon, and then different creatures that are active at night. Some animals do it all. For example, leopards, they have a tendency to be more active in the morning and afternoon. I say that, I haven't seen one yet, but sometimes we will. But then again, I've seen them hunting during the middle of the day in a boiling hot sun in a country called Tanzania in East Africa. So it really does depend. The books tell you, lots of books tell you certain things about the animals, but there's always what we call exceptions to the rule. And that means that animals will change their behavior or adapt their behavior, change what they do during the day to actually adapt to the best time of the day to live. Now, I'm going to do something really fun here. I'm going to reverse back here, and I'm going to ask the first school to send in an email while I quickly have a chat and tell us to go straight, left or right road. You are going to tell us which way we're going to drive, and fingers crossed we might go the right way and see some more animals. So we're going to just wait for the first email to come through. Teachers, you'll be there, ticking along there at the moment. We'll do a question while we wait. Question from Warwick Farm Public School again. Ant, good question. Are impalas dangerous? Well, those horns can be really dangerous, particularly when they're fighting each other. Sometimes they fight each other for territories. But if an animal, maybe a predator, had a bit of a go at them, like a leopard, see, it probably wouldn't have a chance against a leopard because leopards are such incredible hunters. Excuse me. They could use their horns, but it probably wouldn't do too much towards a leopard. But you know what? Sometimes they might give another animal a little bit of a touch with them, but not really. I mean, if we were to go up to them and try and grab them, which we would never do, of course, we could get hurt. But those horns are very, very sharp, and they use them mainly to battle another male for a territory in the breeding season. So I'm just going to wait for a quick email. I hope the teachers are quickly moving along with email travelling across right now to us, and we're going to decide whether we go left or right. Fantastic. How incredible is that? A message has come through, and French's Forest Public School, you guys have just got it, and we are going to go right. Top work, guys. Let's see what we can find. I'm just going to let VM focus on this sunrise for you. I'm just going to move along a bit here, and you see this beautiful African sunrise. I'm going to pull up in front of this lovely tree here, and VM can show you how wonderful it is. The sun is rising, maybe going down in Australia, but rising in Africa. So wonderful stuff. I'm just going to get that question again, please. We've got a lovely question from Ellie in Sydney Children's Hospital School. How beautiful to have you on board, guys. And that sunset was for you. A beautiful, sunrise even, first thing in the morning. Ellie, you'd like to know how long do impalas live for? Well, you know what? It really does depend on where they are and how many predators are around, but sometimes they can get up to maybe 8 years old or around there if they're lucky to get through that. Sometimes it could be older. It just depends on how many predators are around. And there's a lot of predators around here at the moment. We did hear lions last night here, Ellie, as well. So lions will hunt impala. Leopards love impala. But you know what? Impala are one of my favourite antelope, as they are Jamie's. And they can leap an incredible amount. They can leap about 3-4 meters at a time. 3 meters in the air, believe it or not. 3 meters in the air and jump. It's a really important thing for them. It's one of their defense mechanisms, Ellie. To get away from predators. But they're a beautiful antelope. They're very successful antelope. Okay, what I'm going to do now is head down to this other little water hole and try and find something down here. But whilst I'm doing that, let's cross over to Jamie and see what she's up to.
While Hayden and I head out exploring, this male lion is playing hide and seek with us, and he's doing very well at the hiding part. The nice thing is, while we are looking for him, there's all kinds of other things to stop and stare at, and that's going to be true even as the sun starts to come up. And Mrs. Reardon in Warwick Farm Public School, lovely to have you on board, and a wonderful question. So the question from Mrs. Reardon is, while we're out on safari looking for animals, are we doing that just for fun, or do we do it for other information as well? Well, it depends upon where you work. When we go out on safari, one of our biggest aims is to bring the best possible reflection of wildlife. Because it's live and because it's completely unedited and unscripted, it gives you the best example of the animal's behavior. And not only that, we do also record all of our sightings, which then go to larger research organizations, such as a group called Panthera, that monitors big cat movements throughout South Africa and actually throughout the world. And that in turn, that information goes towards research students building up their background, their thesis or their PhD or whatever it is they're doing into animal movements, animal behavior, and of course that research all helps us in terms of conservation, because the more you know about something, the better you can protect it. Good morning to Jordan in Sydney Children's Hospital School. Jordan, it's very special to have you on board, and I hope you're enjoying our safari experience. Jordan wants to know how I became a ranger. Well, Jordan, it's something I've always wanted to do. So I've always loved being out in the bush. I remember when I was 2 years old, a big lion walking past our car in the Kruger National Park. And then when I was 8 years old, I went to a very special place called a rhino camp in a different part of South Africa. And there I was allowed to walk with the rhino. I was allowed to feed some of the orphaned rhino. And they became my favorite animal, and ever since then I've been working towards it. I did my training, and then I worked as an intern, worked in the Kalahari, lots of different things that I've done, Jordan, but I always wanted to do it throughout my life. And now, having lived in the bush for many years, I'm absolutely loving it, and I never get bored. Every day is different, and every day has something new to offer. Like, for example, this tree. These bright green trees. And as I jump out to Zach, I must be careful when I get out of the car, because Zach's question is whether lions prefer hot or cold weather. And the answer to that, Zach, is they actually far prefer cool weather than they do to hot. So lions get very hot, even hotter than we get on our hottest day. A lion's not very good at controlling its body temperature. check and make sure there's no lions waiting for me, hiding behind the trees. So lions prefer cold temperatures rather than hot. And that's why a lion actually spends so much time asleep in the shade during the day. That's why they're known for sleeping up to 20 hours a day, particularly in summer, because they can't do anything else or else they get too hot. This tree is called a spike-thorn tree, and this particular leaf is very, very important. Now, the reason it's bright green and full of leaves whilst all the other trees have been eaten is because it's very, very high in a chemical called tannins. Now, what that means is if I were to eat this, it takes away all the spit, all of the saliva in my mouth. It's really very gross. I'm going to do it. I'd offer Brian, but I don't think Brian's going to eat any. Brian says no. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eat some. And immediately, your mouth goes completely dry. And it makes it very difficult to move your tongue. It's very, very bitter. It's kind of gross. But if you ever find yourself with a stomach complaint, and I'm not going to eat the others, that was too much for me as it is. If you ever find yourself, maybe you've got a bit of a runny tummy, not feeling terribly well, that tree actually fixes that. So if you eat the leaves, then you will feel a lot better. And the amazing thing is, it's not just human beings that know that. The animals know that as well. So if they're ever feeling sick, or if they have sore teeth, especially baby elephants when they're growing their teeth, those of you who are in the process of losing your teeth and growing your new permanent teeth, you know how uncomfortable that is. It starts to get a bit sore, that like you want to chew on something all the time. Baby elephants get that, and they go and they chew on those leaves to help to relieve the pain. They're just one of the many magical trees that we have. And of course, it's not just about examination of the different trees and leaves and looking for animals. There's other clues that you can examine in order to learn a bit more about where an animal is and where it's going. Let's jump on the back with Hayden and see what he's found for you.
Well, Tully from Iluka Public School. Tully, welcome aboard Iluka Public School. Great to have you with us. And you wanted to know what colour elephant poo is. Well, I just happen to have one here I prepared earlier. And this is an elephant poo. Oh yeah, the real deal, a proper one. Look at the size of my hand. And that's the size of an elephant poo. Right. The interesting thing that I want to show you is, do you think that elephants really digest their food well or not so well? Half the class put their hand up and said well, and the other half put their hands up and said not so well. Well, I'm going to make sure you all know about it. And everyone I can feel going, ooh, he's touching it, oh my gosh. Do you know what? This is just plant matter, but I do recommend if ever you work with animals, you do anything with animals, you always wash your hands afterwards, and I will actually do that when I get back. But for the minute, I want to show you something. I'm just going to break this apart here a little bit, all over my car, and we're going to have a close look in there. Now, VM is zooming into that, and I can hear the, oh, all the way from Australia. But you know what? This is all plant matter. Now, I'm going to just stick my knife in here to show you that is all not very well digested plant matter in there, okay? And it sticks, and it's still bits of leaves, and it's also bits of grass, and bits of bark, and bits of root. And you know what? The elephant doesn't have a very efficient digestive system, Tully. So it has to consume large amounts, and that's why you see elephants eating for a very, very big part of the day, sometimes up to a couple of 100 kilograms of food a day. So it goes through their system very, very quickly. But over here, this one on the left is the droppings of something very, very different. And I'm going to just, you can just see, it looks very different to this one here. And you can see all the plant matter in there, and this one you can hardly see anything. I'm going to ask any school that sends a question in, an answer in, what do you think that poo is from? There lies the question. Yes, okay. It's droppings of something. I'm going to give you a couple of clues. It's big. It's, yeah, that's all I'm going to say to you. I'm going to just pop this over the edge. Okay, bye. And this one here, I'm going to keep. And you can, whoever sends an email to us, have a guess if you like. I'm going to give you another clue. It is an animal that eats leaves. There we go. Okay, we've got a question from Brian in Camaret Public School. Fantastic to have you on board, guys, just around the corner from where I live. And you want to know if elephants have teeth. Absolutely they do. They have 6 sets of teeth in their lifetime, and they move forward through their jaw. And when they move forward, sometimes they drop a tooth, and we do find them occasionally. We find a tooth now and again. And it's like a grinding plate. They have them on the top and the bottom, and they grind those, like our back teeth, like our sort of molars at the back that we use for grinding up our food. But they grind it up as much as they possibly can. And do you know what? I've seen in a place in Africa called Uganda, I've seen elephants looking after their teeth. They have actually, they were getting plants out of the water that had sand on the bottom of them, and they were washing the sand off like a tea bag in the water so they wouldn't grind their teeth, so it didn't taste that good. So they were washing it off, and they prefer those soft, tender shoots. So really interesting. They have 6 sets of teeth, and when they lose those teeth, they really do struggle to eat when they get really old. All right, we're going to carry on looking for some creatures. It's a bit quiet this morning, but I have to also tell you, it's really important for you to know okay, so we've got Warwick Farm, Beecroft and Middle Harbour say that it's impala, is it? Is that what I'm just listening to my earpiece? Ah, right, well it's a really, really good guess, guys, and I'm really impressed. But it's a bit bigger than that. And I'm going to just stop here ever so quickly. That, right there, really quickly, because I know we haven't got a lot of time. Believe it or not, but that is the dropping of a giraffe. Do you believe that? There's my thumb. Okay, and there's a giraffe. Okay, giraffe poo. Well, Daceyville and French's Forest School got giraffe. Well done, guys. But you know what? It's really hard to tell sometimes. So everyone that had a guess, brilliant. It is giraffe, and they are really, really efficient eaters. So maybe you guys could do a project on digestion at school with your teachers and figure out why animals eat what they eat and why animals digest like they digest. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is forget we've done enough on poo, I think. Let's go and cross to Jamie. I think she might have a creature. I'm going to go and look for some more. We'll see you just now.
If you look really, really carefully, hidden behind the leaves and the branches, can you see movement there? Now that is one of my favorite antelope, and it's an antelope called a waterbuck. Now, as you can guess, it is called a waterbuck because it likes to live in water, and that's why it's got such thick, shaggy fur. Now, unfortunately, they're playing hard to see, hidden behind all of the branches of the trees, but as this one moves into the sunlight, have a look at the most amazing thing and the most distinctive thing about a waterbuck. In theory, have a look at it. There, you see that flash of white? So, waterbuck have a circle of white around the bottom. Now, nobody knows exactly what that is for, and some say that it is so that the baby waterbuck can follow their moms. Others say that it's so that the whole herd can stay together in case they're chased by a predator. Either way, it stands out really, really clearly, and if you look at it, it starts to look a bit funny because it looks as though a waterbuck sat on a freshly painted toilet seat. and that left the white ring around the bottom. And in some popular tales, they say that the baboons painted a toilet seat, and then the waterbuck sat on it. And Malika, in Warwick Farm Public School, just talking about our antelope. These are female waterbuck, and in fact that's a baby waterbuck, believe it or not. They're actually really, really big antelope. Marika, only the males in waterbuck have horns, but you want to know why the antelope have horns. Well, that's fascinating. For antelope like waterbuck, where only the male has horns, they live in thick vegetation, so for the females they'd rather hide than fight. But the males need the horns, just like the lion needs a mane. The male lion needs a mane to fight off other male waterbuck, to have access to the females, to collect a group of females that he can call his own, so that he can have babies. But there are some antelope where the female have horns as well. So for something like a wildebeest, or I don't know if you've ever heard of an oryx with their giant, long, spear-like horns, in that case, the females have horns as well because they live in much more open areas, in clearings. And that means that instead of hiding, they are brave and they fight off predators, so they need horns as well. But for our waterbuck, for the females to have horns in this thick vegetation, all that would happen is that they would get stuck and slow the waterbuck down. So horns are always used as a weapon, but either for other males or for predators. And Mara Public School, talking about our antelope, this is actually one of our slower antelope species, but I don't think any of us would describe them as slow. They are the sprinters of the Olympic animal world. And Mara would like to know how fast an antelope can travel. At its fastest, right up to about 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. There are some that can run even faster than that. Now, most predators out here, like a lion or a leopard, they can travel very, very fast. 20 meters per second, 20 to even up to 24 meters per second. But they can't do it for very long. And that is where an antelope's natural advantage comes in, because they're long-distance runners. So they can run very fast for much longer than the predators do, which is why leopards and lions and cheetah actually have to try and sneak up on them and get close to them before they try and hunt them. Our waterbuck have disappeared now into the thick vegetation. Let's go see what else we can find. And speaking of animal speeds, Isaac in French's Forest Public School wants to know what the slowest animal is. I don't know, Isaac. I can be pretty slow getting out of bed in the morning. But if I had to tell you, maybe something like a snail. We get an animal called a giant land snail. A snail that's bigger than my hand, absolutely enormous, but they're very, very slow. So they move inch by inch by inch, just like the snails do that you will have seen in different areas that you are from. So snails are some of the slowest, and then of course there's some animals that hardly ever move, like snakes, ambush snakes like a puff adder. But when they need to move fast, then they can move really fast. Tortoises are also slow, but I've seen a tortoise run and they're not as slow as you think they are. When they want to, they can run not very fast, you'd still be able to outrun them, but they can move quickly with their little stumpy legs to go and hide somewhere underneath the vegetation. Now, Isaac, what you don't want to do is make the mistake of thinking that something like a hippo or an elephant is slow. They might look big and stumbling and like they couldn't move very fast, but that is absolutely not the case. They are very, very quick movers. A hippo can run. Now imagine this, when you're done here, go and take 15 big steps. Take 15 big steps. A hippo can run that in 1 second. So in the time that it takes you to blink, if you blink slowly maybe, that's how fast a hippo would have covered that distance. So just because they look big and fat doesn't mean that they are slow. They're actually very, very quick. Come on, lion. And Sophia in Little Harbour Public School. Sophia's thinking about the birds that she sees in her school and wants to know if there are as many pigeons here as there are in her school. No, not quite, but we do get pigeons and doves here. But we don't have as many of the pigeons, but we do in Johannesburg, that you might have, because pigeons are very adaptable. They're very, very good at living in cities and breeding very quickly. I'm going to look for a pigeon to show you what our pigeons look like, because they're actually beautiful and bright green. But for now, Hayden has found something that is much, much taller than a pigeon.
Yes, one of my favourite animals on the planet, and how funny was that? We were just talking about their droppings. Check this out. Look at that. It's a beautiful big boy giraffe. So we just got a great question from Jasper in Daceyville Public School. Jasper, you want to know why giraffes have long necks? Well, over millions and millions of years, there used to be this creature, 10 generations back, of a giraffe relative called a Helidotherium. And that was about 30 to 50 million years ago. And then, if we fast forward to now, we've got the giraffe. And over that period of time, the giraffe's neck got longer and longer and longer, so they could find that little spot. Remember that I used that word earlier called a niche? And that's spelled N-I-C-H-E, and that means a special little spot that they can have in the ecosystem or in the habitat. And giraffes were very successful at feeding at a very high level. They became more successful, and hence their neck got that long. Now, the interesting thing about giraffe kids, and I don't know if you can feel down the back of your necks right now, those bones at the back of your neck, they're called your vertebrae. Okay, how many neck bones do you think a giraffe has got? Well, I know we don't have a lot of time to get emails in, but if you count down yours, you might think 3, 4, 5, I'm not sure. But you've got 7 in your neck. Well, how many do you think's in the giraffe's neck? Yeah, I heard a lot of people say 15, 23, all different numbers. They've got exactly the same number of neck vertebrae that you and I have. Now, I know you might find that strange. We're just going to move up a little bit closer and see if we can get out of this sunshine for VM. Just going to move up a little bit closer because we've got a really great question from Charlotte in Nowandok Public School. Nowandok, hi, how are you going, guys? So great to have you on board. Is that a little bit better for you, VM? Just a little bit further? Okay, I'm just going to go past this tree here for VM. So okay, we'll stop right there. We saw this giraffe yesterday too. He's beautiful. So Charlotte, you asked, what's the tallest giraffe I've ever seen? Well, the tallest giraffe I've ever seen was about 6 meters tall, or 5 and a bit meters tall, 5.5. And it's very hard to measure them, but they do get up to that height. And this is a big boy, Charlotte. This boy here is a beautiful big male giraffe. And sometimes, I can probably hear many of you asking the question, do you find them by themselves like this often, or do you find them in a herd? Sometimes the boys will spend time like this by themselves, and other times you'll look at him and sometimes they'll be in a herd. Have a really close look, guys, and you can see there's all these different little birds around him. Great question from Nara Public School, and you just asked the question that I was just about to answer. There's lots and lots of little birds all over him, and what are they doing? Another great little project for you guys at school to have a look online after we finish, and you can look up a bird called a red-billed oxpecker. A red-billed oxpecker, and those birds, isn't that fantastic? They are actually doing a job for the giraffe. They can become a little bit annoying at times and get in his ears. You can see he's shaking his head there. But they're picking off parasites, little things like ticks and mites, little insects that the giraffe will have on him. and they are picking those off, and they're having a fantastic time there cleaning the giraffe, and they comb their beak through the giraffe's hair, and they get those little parasites out. But I want to talk about something really, really cool right now, what the giraffe is doing. He's eating, and if you can have a close look when he does eat, he uses his long tongue. This is great. I'm getting questions through about exactly what I'm just about to talk about. And Jordan in Sydney Children's Hospital School, great to have you on board, Jordan. And what a perfect question. I was just about to talk about their tongue, and you want to know whether it's true that they do have a dark or a purple tongue. Well, it's absolutely true, Jordan. And it's a bit hard to tell from where we are right now because the light is behind and it's a little bit of a struggle to see, but it is a purplish colour, and it's a real purple colour. It's very easy to tell that colour when you're up close. And maybe if you ever get a chance to go to Taronga Zoo, or you might be able to go onto Taronga Zoo's website, or Taronga Western Plains Zoo, you might see a picture of a giraffe's tongue, or look up online with your colleague, your friends, or whoever you can do that with there, and you might get a picture of it, and it's long. It's about 1.5 times the length of a school ruler, Jordan, so it's about 45 centimetres long. And it's a really, really big word I want you guys to take home today. It's called prehensile. We've got a great question also from Warwick Farms Public School. Why do they have horns? Well, it's an interesting thing. A lot of the hoofed animals have horns, and these particular horns have got a big word, and you probably don't need to know this right now, but they're called ossicones. And again, your teachers might be able to look that up with you, ossicones. And they are skin-covered little bony structures on the top of their heads, and they have those, and the males use those for fighting. And what they do is they drop their head and neck in a pendulum type of a fashion, just like on a grandfather clock, that pendulum that swings down there. They use their head and necks, and they hit each other with those, and they will do that when they're fighting for territory. But what a cool animal, guys. Hey, isn't this fantastic? A wild giraffe. We've only got about 3 minutes left, so whilst we're watching this beautiful giraffe, I'm just going to talk to you and tell you a little bit about why this is so important, what we're doing. Taronga Conservation Society and Wild Earth have put this together to give you all the opportunity to have a little bit of an adventure off in Africa. But you know what? The animals in Australia are just as important as the animals in Africa, just as important as the animals in Asia, and all the animals on the planet are really, really important. And what you are doing right now is learning about them. And kids, all I can say to you is keep doing it. You are the special little soldiers for us in the conservation army in the world. And the more you know about the planet, the more we are going to be able to save the planet, the more that we're going to be able to look after the animals and the habitat. The more that you know, the better the planet's going to be. And you can do loads in your little schools, or in your own classrooms, or in your own backyards, or wherever you are. You can make changes, and you can talk to your teachers about how to do that. And if you need ideas, you can go to the Taronga Zoo website or the Taronga Western Plains website and talk to the education departments there and get lots of ideas how you can do little projects in your own backyards or your own school grounds. And if you needed some help with that, we will be more than happy to talk to you about that. It's been absolutely fantastic, guys, to talk to you today. I can't tell you how excited I get when I talk to schools, because you know what? I've been in exactly the same position as you. I've sat there in the classroom and had this incredible experience from someone who's come in and talked to us. And you know what? If we can, make you love or change your thoughts about animals or make you learn something, all the better. Jamie is absolutely fantastic as well, and she has just got the most incredible knowledge. So if you want to follow this line of work, or you want to get into wildlife, or you want to get into anything like this with conservation, do it. Follow your heart, follow your dream, and you can do it. I did it. We're nothing special. We're just normal people, but we've just followed our dream, kids. And I tell you what, I'm going to finish up by saying farewell. Thank you to Taronga Conservation Society, Wild Earth, and all the schools for participating. If you want to watch again tomorrow, we're going to do this tomorrow again, and we'd be more than happy to have you on board. I'm going to let you finish with these beautiful pictures of this giraffe, and I'll talk you through a little bit more. But I want to say to you, thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone that watched, and hats off to the teachers that got it together. Look, he's just given us a bit of a look there. Hats off to all the teachers, all the questions, and a big hi to my boys' school. Happy days, Middle Harbour Public School, and Jack, great to have you watching, my boy, and thank you everyone for watching. See you later, guys. Well, folks, if you're watching from somewhere else in the world, thank you very much for listening to that special schools broadcast there that we did to Australian schools, particularly in the state of New South Wales. And it's a really important thing to me and to the team here at Wild Earth and everyone on Safari Live, that kids are our little change agents. They're the ones that are going to make the massive changes on this planet. So we really, really nurture that, and to try and share that little experience with them. I was a little bit worried there for a while, I have to admit. We'd seen a couple of impala and a waterbuck, but you know, it is what it is. Particularly with the bush, you cannot plan, you can only hope. And we were lucky for this beautiful creature, one of my favourites on the planet, to give us a great thing at the end, that's for sure. But how cool is this giraffe? He's a beautiful boy. This is the one that we saw yesterday, VM, yeah? Yeah. Absolutely beautiful boy. He's just feeding away here, really comfortable with us as well. And he's definitely spending a bit of a solitary time. He's got a lot of red-billed oxpeckers on him, pardon me. A lot of red-billed oxpeckers on him. Just beautiful morning light. I tell you what, it was really, really cold this morning. Really cold, and we're just starting to warm up, which is nice. Beautiful light on him now. I've got a question from Melanie about asking if the patterns on all giraffes are different. They certainly are, Melanie. They've all got unique patterns on their or markings, whatever you like to call them, on their coat. Different subspecies have got different markings that are sort of more pertinent to their subspecies. So you'll have a similar they won't be exactly the same shape, but they're the same sort of configuration. So we've got the southern giraffe in front of us, and if you went all the way up to Kenya and looked at the reticulated giraffe, a very, very different pattern altogether, and a real chestnut sort of colour to those giraffe, and much more sort of a mosaic pattern, where these have got a little bit more of a star shape to them. But yes, Melanie, they do have all different patterns, and really, really beautiful at that. Browsing away, and I can't believe the amount of oxpeckers that actually are on this giraffe. He's got incredible amount on him, and they're really, really annoying him. But at the same time, doing a great job. Justin wants to know what type of skin conditions giraffes have. Justin, they definitely do suffer sometimes from a bit of it's probably a bacteria or a skin condition. They can get a little bit like a mange now and again on them, and that does definitely come up as they get older. Sometimes you see it on young ones as well, but just depending on the age of the animal. Normally they'll get they have really good skin condition, but you will have parasitic infestations now and again, and that can exacerbate a skin condition on them. And then sometimes you'll get a wound as well that can have a skin condition be exacerbated by a skin condition. It just depends where they are and their vigor, their age and what condition they're in, food availability, etc. But wow, that was really fantastic. Now, thank you very much for your question and great to have you on board. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Safari Live's Morning Drive. And if you've just joined us, you might have seen me or heard me really talking to kids in a very, very passionate, enthusiastic way. We do for adults alike, as we all do on Safari Live. But they only had an hour with us because in Australia, where we were doing the Schools Project 2, it was 2 to 3 in the afternoon. So school finishes at 3. So we just wound up there and we're back on normal drive now. So welcome to everyone. Welcome to all the regular wonderful Safari Live team that are watching. And if you're a new viewer, welcome aboard to you and fantastic to have you. This is a live drive from the Djuma Game Reserve I'm on at the moment in the Sabi Sand, South Africa. And obviously my accent doesn't sound very South African, but I'm from Australia originally and I just absolutely adore this country. It is one of the most beautiful countries on the planet, and I'm very, very lucky to be here just for this week, focusing on these morning drives for Australian schools, but then I begged them to do some afternoon drives as well, and the team, oh, all right, if we have to. So it's been a real great pleasure for me, and I've got VM on board with me, who is my eyes in the sky. We've had some great luck along here, VM and I, with predators, so I just said to VM, we're going to go up to Sandy Patch.
We've got really, really exciting news, and I'm kind of splitting my attention between the flood of words that's coming through the Game Drive comms and the fact that we are here on Weaver's Nest waiting for Karula and her cubs to make up their mind which way they're going to go. So they're standing at the moment on a main boundary line that is our southern boundary. It's as far south as we can go. She spends a lot of time around that boundary. Karula, of course, being a leopard, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the name Karula, and she's got 2 6-month-old cubs. And she spends a lot of time crossing between our Traverse area and back here. At the moment, she is on Little Gowrie, but she's playing with the cubs backwards and forwards. The difficulty is, of course, because it's a main road. I can't actually see, sorry, I'm going to have to reposition slightly. Because it's a main road, there are lots and lots of vehicles that can drive there and can see her. But we're the only one at the moment here that is able to drive to the north. So if she decides to come here, we have to be close because they can't follow her on here to keep sight of her for us. Which means that we've just got to wait around the area. We've got to be close so that as soon as they say, okay, she's coming north, if they say she's coming north, which is the hope that we have at the moment, then we'll be able to catch up with her there. I'm stopping, it's a toss-up because on the one hand there's sun to warm us up, on the other there's a bright sun that I can't see into. Let's go and have a look at these hornbills for now while I wait and just listen to the Game Drive comms, which I have to tell you it's relatively busy, but we're not far off. It's just whether or not she goes south, which I'm really hoping she doesn't. Please don't, Karula. Come back to us. Don't stop, please, on my account. Standing by. Peter, thank you. I'm standing by about 100 meters north on Weaver's Nest. Copy, thank you, Peter. Okay, sorry about that. Just chatting to Peter from Nkoro, who's been very kind in keeping us updated, and he says at the moment, although they are on Little Gowrie, they are still visible from the road. There we go. Let's turn that down slightly. So Peter's been kind enough to keep us updated and that she's still visible from the road. And our hornbills are currently giving us a lovely mating display. Synchronized, and I mean, we've obviously got Olympics on our mind. This is some kind of gymnastics that they're performing, rhythmic gymnastics or something similar, in perfect unison. And what they're doing basically is they are reaffirming the bond between the pair of them. Copy, Peter, thank you. Okay, we need to race in. Peter says they're going south. He's making space for us very kindly. Sorry, hornbills, your display is lovely. I'll give you 10 out of 10, but we need to go. Oh no, Karula, not south. Come north, come north. Okay. We're just going to slow down ever so slightly when we get to the main road junction. But while we race there and try and figure out exactly what's going on, we're going to send you across to Hayden. We might bring you back very quickly.
Well, that's really great news to hear what Jamie's up to there, because we did go around and have a little look down that area early this morning. It wasn't even light to see where Karula was. We were pretty guaranteed she wasn't going to be there after that. The rest of her kill fell out of the tree by little, I think it was little Hasana dropped it, and then the hyena got it, and then they'd move on. We're just listening to the radio right now. We heard a lot of line around our camp last night, big line roars, and we think they've moved over onto Buffelshoek. We're just cruising up on Sandy Patch at the moment, having a look for any tracks, listening to the radio. But you never know what's around the next corner. You just do not know. And I think it's really nice just to have a little scratch around. Jamie's onto that hot information of Karula, and I dropped out of signal, pardon me, before. What I was saying, one of the most wonderful presenters I've worked with in a long time, Jamie Paterson, and she is just great to hear and to be on drive with. Wonderful stuff. So we're just up on Sandy Patch. I was just saying to VM, we've had some really nice luck up here with predators in the past. We've definitely got some nyala over here looking down a different direction. They're all looking the same way, which is always good just to stop and have a little look around. What's that? Steenbok, is it, down there? Yep. So sometimes what can happen, folks, is, sorry, I'm just crying from a bit of the cold here. It was 9 degrees this morning, or about 49 Fahrenheit, so it's just warming up, and we're being like reptiles at the moment, getting ourselves to preferred body temperature. Sometimes some of the antelope, giraffe do it also. There can be a noise down in the vegetation, and it can be another antelope, but they all get very skittish and they all sort of need to know what's going on before they continue. They're all frozen here, and I am just, whilst VM's just looking at them, I'm just going to have a little scan around with my binoculars to see, because you just never know. You just never know what's down around. We've got lots of leopard around, but so great to hear that Karula is potentially coming our way. We had an incredible couple of days, 48 hours with Karula, And yesterday we saw that behaviour right at the end. If you were watching, you'll know what I was talking about. Sorry. But we had Karula and her cubs with she's such an incredible mum, and successful hunt, put it up the tree, youngsters feeding on it. At the end of it, dropped out of the tree. As soon as it hit the ground, that hyena was just resting back in a little vegetated area, straight down under the tree. She tried to get it back up the tree, dropped a bit of it, and the hyena just crunched through those bones. It was absolutely brilliant to watch and hear. But everyone's sound, and her little cubs. I have been saying over the past few days, folks, I do apologise that they're 7 months old. They're actually just only 6 months old. I counted my months incorrectly, so I do apologise there. But this beautiful, beautiful antelope in front of us here, isn't she gorgeous? This is a female nyala. Gorgeous antelope. Sexually dimorphic when it comes to the males. Very, very different, much bigger than her, and much different in their appearance. A much greyer colour with a mane and a spinal crest that goes down their back. Here comes a young one actually, and he's just he's just starting to get a bit of a change in his colour. You can see the front legs and a little bit of a white sort of spinal fringe that becomes very, very erect when they're displaying to each other. They've got this incredible display that they do, and they would rather avoid a massive conflict. They do come to battle often, but they do this incredible display as well, and it's this sort of a dance that they do. It's like a standoff, but this is a very young male, and you can just see the little leg stripes and the different colours appearing on him. Well, that will become rather grand over time. Another male coming behind him, even younger, and then a female behind that, and the females stay that gorgeous chestnut orange colour. But really good to see here the different stripe patterns too. Much like kudu, they have a unique stripe pattern down the sides. There's really close stripes on that one. That's quite beautiful on that female crossing. She's got a few scars on her. Yeah, beautiful. She could be... Yeah, she's alright. I thought she was limping. It's lovely just to let these animals pass in front of you and have the right of way. They got comfortable, and they knew that little... We were just looking down there. It was a little steenbok running through the... another beautiful little antelope. He was running through the vegetation, and they were all a bit wary about what it was. So once they settled and realised that it was no danger, they carried on. But a beautiful antelope, gorgeous morning sunlight, and it's definitely becoming a bit warmer here, eh? It definitely feels a bit better. I'm just going to turn down Sandy Patch Road and head towards Impala Plains, an area I haven't been down for a bit. And we're just having a visual check. Got a question from Michael, and asking what purpose do the spots on the Nyala's face serve? Liam's just looking out the left-hand side here for me at these tracks, but I think they're old. Michael, those spots, you know, all the things that we say as human beings about animals is about interpretation and why we think that they're there, but just like the side stripes, Michael, I think that those spots are going to be to break up that facial structure in the way of, for camouflage, looking through the vegetation, particularly through where the habitat that Nyala like. They like this sort of open to a little bit more closed woodland. It just breaks up their face structure and allows them to probably have a little bit more camouflage, as does the stripes on the side of them and kudu. Allows you, that just breaks up that body shape, and they really do blend in, Michael. When you see them in this sort of habitat, there could be one just like 10 meters away from you or 30 feet away from you in the vegetation. You can't even see it, and they'll stand motionless, and then they'll fly. They'll run. But that's what I think those spots are for, Michael. Thank you very much for being on board this morning. And we're just going to drive along here and see what we come across. So whilst we're looking to see if there's any tracks that are across the road or any fresh tracks of anything, we've got a lot of elephant and zebra tracks that we're driving over now. We're going to cross over to Jamie and see what she's up to, and let's get a little Karula update. We'll see you just now.
Tragically, there's a very sad tale, and that is the fact that copy that, thank you. I'm at the signboards now, I'll make my way. Just confirm north of the signboards. Ah! Anyway, tragic tale is that Karula has gone south. She went south before we had a chance to see her. But the good news is that a shadow is somewhere here. And we're going to go and see if we can't find her. Unfortunately, I'm really struggling to hear at the moment exactly where she is. So she is making her way somewhere in our... Oh, good, this is good. Here's a person. Morning. Cheers, guys. Hello, hello, bye-bye. No time to say hello, goodbye. You can hear the vehicles in here. Okay. Oh, it sounds like she's just crossed. Okay, let's just have a look here. This is where we need to be. So shadow, yay! Very exciting, and we had some good luck there in terms of bumping into people. Could help us out with exactly where she's going to pop out. Just stop and listen for the off-roading. Okay, she's gone onto Triple M. This is good. It means she's coming to our side, but it does mean that we've got to hurry because they can't keep her for us. Peter, should I go Triple M? Yeah. Okay. This way. This way, this way, this way. Race, race, race. We've just come from there. Woo. Hold on, everybody. Turning a tight corner there. Come on, Shadow. Shadow has been so elusive over the last few days. And I'm really hoping we get a view of her. And I think she has her cub with her, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, that would be a marvelous surprise. Or she might be going back to fetch. Oh, goodness. Okay. Let's check for tracks. Peter's not sure if she's crossed yet or not. Okay, Bebop, you got the left, I'll take the right. Sounds perfect. Morning. How are you?
Good, and you?
Good, thanks.
She was like bolting just on this side of the drainage, eh? Coming straight here.
South of the drainage.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, well, we'll keep looping. I wonder what she went for. Maybe she was hunting. Okay, we're going to concentrate really carefully on finding Shadow for you. Seems as though every time I try and race to see her, she disappears just at that last moment. So we're going to keep looking. Meantime, let's go back to Hayden.
I'm really excited to hear. I thought it was Karula, but it seems to be that she's looking for Shadow, which is really exciting as well. Just going to reverse here because the light is so beautiful. And just, we see these guys a lot, and I'm sure we show you them a lot. But how beautiful these animals are. I can't drive past Impala in beautiful, beautiful light like this. They're such an exquisite antelope, and really quite unique in a little sort of group of their own, Impala. And we're up on a place that's aptly named Impala Plains, and we've seen some really fantastic frolics here. When the youngsters in the lambing season towards the end of the year, in November, when the rains start, fingers crossed that we do get some rain, good rain this year for Africa, and you see these lambs hanging out in these creches around here and doing this amazing sort of pronking dance, and you just see them and you know that they're having fun. They just do this dancing around, stretching, learning how to run, exercising, strengthening themselves, and they do it in these groups across this area we're coming up to. And it's just fantastic. There's no lambs at the moment, of course, but it's just something I just always stop for because they are a beautiful, beautiful antelope. And I always say that word, you know, we have a tendency to give them a cursory glance, you know, more Impala, but you've got to stop. You have to stop and have a look at these great creatures all around. We're just looking at, there's a few tracks here and line from yesterday. We've got there's a lovely little, just let me stop for 1 second, I just want to show you that. It's a little bit backlit. A naughty calf trying to get a drink from his mum still. I don't know how he's getting away with that. And mum's not really enjoying that. A kudu, she's trying to push him away, but he's sneaking in. He's a big calf, and he's getting a last drink of milk there, giving his mum a little bit of a rough time, but she's tolerating it for the minute. I don't think he's going to get much more from here on in. Gorgeous antelope up here this morning. This is kudu, and just getting a little bit of that morning light. Just good to see now on the side of that kudu. Just see it through there. Viam's got a great shot of how they can just blend in. Gesundheit. They can just blend in with those side stripes, that little bit of camouflage, and they're all individuals, just like the Nyala. This little calf is really going for it there. Mum is being very, very tolerant. This is last season's calf, so he's probably getting towards over a year old. Maybe not quite, but just lovely. A little bit boisterous, one might say, but she's allowing it, so he's going to get a little kick soon if he's not careful. So peaceful, so beautiful. Right, let's carry on. Now, I did have a question from Final Control, and Kirsty, I do apologise. Sam Finn, was it? Okay, so Shan Finn would like to know about what we're doing with Sumatran tigers at the Taronga Conservation Society back in Australia. I know it's a little bit out of the norm talking about tigers here today, but it is a really important thing to know that all of our large predators on the planet need support. Tigers, Sumatran tigers, have had a breeding program, and a very, very important breeding program at that, with the Taronga Conservation Society for many, many years. Sumatran tigers are the smallest of the tiger species, and just while we're on the antelope thing, we'll just get back to here. And we do an incredible amount supporting in situ support in Indonesia and Sumatra, and also our program that works at the zoo. At the moment we're building an amazing new tiger facility which should be open next year, and you can get lots more information about that on the Taronga Zoo website. But we do a lot about Taronga does a lot for Sumatran tigers in the wild and in captivity. So thank you very much for your question, and there's lots more information at the Taronga Zoo the Taronga Conservation website. We just had a pair of steenbok, I think, just up here, another antelope. So we've had impala, nyala, kudu. Have you got them, Viam? A little bit forward, just behind that vegetation, yeah? There we go. They normally dart off. They're a bit of a ways away. Yeah, they're just moving away now. A little bit hard to see. Beautiful little antelope called steenbok. Today is the 10th, isn't it? And correct me if I'm wrong, but today is World Lion Day. I thought it was. I had a funny feeling that today was World Lion Day, and it is. Of course it is. How incredible. What a great, great celebration of a beautiful species. Oh, here we go. Not lions, but sorry, I'll come back to lions. This has been a lovely little couple of 100 meters, couple of 500 feet of beautiful herbivores here. We've got common zebra or plain zebra. Again, another animal with that theme of this stripe pattern, and we've had the nyala, we've had the kudu, and now we've got zebra, all with different stripes, all helping the animal with its camouflage in this woodland. The jury's out, with a lot of people, have their theories about zebras' markings and how unique they are. They're definitely one of the most unique markings in the animal kingdom, particularly in the hoofed animals. People talking about whether it's a mechanism for them to be able to dazzle a predator when they're in a herd, but what about when they're not in a herd? What about when they're by themselves? And we do see smaller herds in this sort of country, just 2s, 3s, 5s, 10s, feeding through the open woodland like this. And I have to say, folks, I've walked through here before, and as I've walked through here, you can have zebra only about 100 feet away from you. You can hear them, but you cannot see them. And it might sound a bit weird as we're watching that one walk across the road. Oh yes, a zebra crossing. Doesn't get much cornier than that, does it? A zebra crossing just there, but they very, very stand out. But when they're in this little sort of winter woodland, you definitely cannot see them that easily. It's a fantastic thing. That stripe pattern just breaks up their body shape, and they disappear. They really do disappear, but how beautiful are they? And so relaxed with us right now. Really relaxed, just grazing along there. There's a little bit of green grass through this top area here, and that's what they're picking out in this morning sun. But how beautiful. They've got that really distinctive shadow stripe. The other species have got a much tighter stripe without the shadow, so you've got that black stripe, and then you've got a sort of a brown or dusky coloured stripe just in between each one of those black ones. I'll just go up a bit closer because every time I've sat VM here, I've sat him into the sun. He's been backlit nearly every shot here, mate. So let me get you one that you're not shooting into the sunlight. Sometimes it looks really beautiful, and let's let VM shoot out of the sun for a second. You get that gorgeous morning light on them. I'll just stop there. That's a really nice indicator there of that shadow stripe that you can see in between the darker, more distinct black ones. A real characteristic of the plains or common zebra. I really do love zebra. I had the pleasure when I was working with African mammals in the zoo that I'm back at now to see a young zebra just after it was born, and the mother tending to it and getting into its first steps with its shaky little legs. But I tell you what, it doesn't take them very long to be able to run very, very quickly next to their mum. And they come out very, very well developed, like most hoofed animals, or well, all hoofed animals really come out very well developed. And the reason for that is they have to be able to get to their feet really quickly and get flexible, strong and fast to be able to escape predators. This is just a smorgasbord. VM, we're just moving up now to a wildebeest. VM's namesake. VM's got a little bit of a nickname in our team as the wildebeest. This has just been lovely. The last few hundred feet has just been beautiful. We saw a little glimpse of a steenbok, we then went on to nyala, we then went on to impala, kudu, zebra, and now a beautiful wildebeest in perfect condition. It's called a brindled gnu, GNU, or the common wildebeest. I always feel a bit funny about saying the word common wildebeest because it makes it sound like, oh yeah, there's loads of them and they're not that important. But you know what? It's just a term that people use because they are plentiful in numbers and abundant. But they're another beautiful antelope. They're really finding this area a nice place to be because there's a little bit of what we call green pick or green grass up here poking its head through, and they're capitalizing on that. It's not a very good shot I've got you there, mate. I'll move forward a bit. Just gone behind the vegetation. I don't know what's that. Is that any better for you, mate? There, a little bit further. Still got a big stick in the way, haven't I? There we go. How's that? So these are the famous wildebeest that do the mass migration around through the Serengeti and Masai Mara in Tanzania and Kenya in their millions, and I've had the great privilege of seeing that, coupled with several 100,000 zebra, and they move cyclically round through the Masai Mara and up into down through Tanzania and up into the Masai Mara, following the rains and following the plentiful grass supply in those incredible vast expanses of land up there. But just as beautiful here. We've got a nice question from Natalie in California. Great to have you on board. You live in a beautiful part of the world too, and I love California. Natalie, you'd like to know, are zebras browsers or grazers? Well, zebras are definitely grazers. They've got a beautifully developed set of teeth and lips to graze grass, but I have seen zebras even, picking away at foliage when times have been really tough and food has been not as plentiful. But they are specifically designed to be grazers, as are the wildebeest. The kudu and the nala on the opposite, they're more browsers, but you will occasionally see them do a little bit of a graze if times are tough. So animals will adapt. They have their preference. Zebras are definitely preferable grazers, but if times are very, very tough, you'll find animals adapt. Now, I say that, I've actually seen an incredible thing in Kruger National Park many moons ago, and it was a very tough time. I'm just trying to remember what year it was. There was a drought there. It could have been around 94-ish. My memory it escapes my memory at the moment. But there was an elephant carcass, and I saw a hippopotamus feeding on the stomach contents of an elephant carcass, because times were so lean for food, and because the elephant digestive system isn't as efficient as most, they were getting out some nutrition out of the stomach contents of this elephant, and the hippo was actually eating it. It was quite an incredible thing to see. Which way do you reckon, VM? Left, right, straight ahead. Right. VM always brings me good luck, as does the porcupine quill that's with us this morning, just in case you were wondering. Funny little thing we carry around sometimes for a bit of good luck. And speaking of good luck, my dear friend Jamie Paterson happens to have some right now. We'll see you soon.
Good luck indeed, but not of the leopard variety. In fact, this morning I think it's safe to say I have had terrible leopard luck. A shadow walking over my vehicle tracks behind me, and now disappearing off somewhere into this thick vegetation. However, luckily we have stumbled across an elephant herd, and it gives us a nice opportunity to stop and listen to all of the sounds around us, and also just watch these wonderful animals. And I'm going to go back a little bit to try and get us a better view of this little chap as he pushes over the tree that he's just found. Let's go back. This is the direction she's heading in, by the way. Hello, little boy. What have you got here? It has been fascinating watching the elephants feed over the last few weeks, focusing so intently on getting to the bark of the trees, which means they're constantly using their feet to actually push over the smaller main stems or break them. He's not doing very well here. Not quite going his way, but he's going to make it happen. Boom. Down. They're after the bark and also the roots of the trees, which is seriously destructive, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It does go to show how desperate they are for food, but generally an elephant's feeding pattern, and he's now just taken down a buffalo thorn by the looks of it completely. Typically an elephant's feeding pattern would be nibbling off the leaves and then digging up some grass. It's a nice balance, particularly in summer where they eat a huge amount of grass. And it means that the trees that they feed on are generally able to recover relatively quickly from the damage inflicted. That is not the case at the moment. They are systematically focusing on one tree and obliterating them one at a time, which, as I said, is not a bad thing. It's just a change in their feeding patterns because of the drought. It means they have to concentrate harder, and they do in turn rip up roots and main stems. This tree's gone now. Welcome to Tina. I hope you are enjoying our sunrise safari. That's what gives Brian and myself some time to sit and bask in the sun. Tina, in terms of aging an elephant, it's not always the easiest thing to do. When they're little, it's probably at its easiest when they are, hello boy, when they are babies to sort of this sort of age, which is around, I would guess, at 10 or so. You got quite big tusks for a young elephant. A big boy. Which way are you going to go? Which tree are you after? Right behind the vehicle. Let's see where he pops up. Oh, Tina, one thing that's a good indicator is behavior. So we know, even if we weren't judging on the size of this elephant, because elephants do grow at different paces, they tend to be relatively consistent in their first few years of life. So the tusks start to stick out visibly about at around 3 or so years old, when they're roughly that long. But then again, you sometimes get elephants without tusks. It's repositioned so we can watch them as we talk about this. After the teenage years, once they've reached adulthood, it gets more and more tricky. And you have to look at the bones around the head, where in the temporal regions they start to collapse in as they lose fat and elasticity around their skin. What you got there, boy? Oh, there you go. Tree number 2, down and out for the count. And absolutely, Shamsun, the one thing that elephants do is they provide good browsing for the animals that don't necessarily have an option in terms of reaching up to the top of the leaves. And that will be particularly true as the knobthorns start to get their leaves in September. And the other browsers will take full advantage of the elephant action in that sense. You can see what I mean. I mean, this feeding right now is pretty much the end of the plant. And Flaming Hawk, it's lovely to hear from you while we had such a lovely view of our elephant's foot. Flaming Hawk, it is true that elephants walk on their tippy toes, and it's something that I'd have to explain with use of a diagram. Perhaps when we have a little bit more time, I'll be able to draw a picture for you in the sand. But essentially, elephants walk on the tips of their toes. Their foot structure is even more advanced than that of a hoof. So the hoof structure is extended bones. Now, in that elephant's foot, you can almost imagine it like a wedge. You know those wedge type shoes? Like high heels but with more support? That's kind of what an elephant's foot looks like. So it walks on its toes, and then beneath the pad or beneath the heel sits a pad of spongy cushion, which then allows the elephant to support its weight. So whilst it seems a ridiculous notion, kind of like a ballet dancer dancing on the tips of their toes, that is in fact what elephants do, and it's one of the reasons why they are so quiet. And then the whole foot is cushioned by lots and lots of spongy tissue, which absorbs the sound, allows them to walk relatively softly. And they do have toenails as well. So what I'll do for you is I will explain exactly the way it works with the diagram, but it is fascinating to see, and that the only other animal in this area that has the same foot structure is a rock hyrax or a dussie, which we don't see all that often out here because there aren't any nice rocky places for them to live on. But that is the elephant's closest relative, which seems absurd when you see them because they're tiny, almost rodent-looking animals. I'm loving this. Elephant's completely uprooted. I originally thought it was a buffalo thorn. I actually think it's a tambuti, young tambuti tree, and has systematically set about feeding off the bark. Oh no, it is a buffalo thorn, sorry. I was going to say, I'm quite surprised by the tambuti growing here. It is a buffalo thorn, which is one of the most nutritious trees. You can see the focus and the concentration. Oh, nah, over that one. And just like that, he's taken about 2 bites, and off he goes to the next tree, to disturb that fork-tailed drongo, perhaps, the bird in the background. Stopping to think about his approach. And off flutters the drongo, waiting for him to decide where he's going to start feeding. They're always around here, picking up any of the insect life that the elephants might have disturbed along the way. And in this kind of light, although it's very difficult light, it gives you an idea of just how furry an elephant is as well. While our fork-tailed drongo waits around, look at that. Look at all the fuzz on his skin. We often get asked, do elephants have hair? Well, there you go. It's particularly clear. They are actually covered in a sparse grouping of very, very tough hair that grows out of their skin. Wonder if you realize just how hairy an elephant actually is. We notice it with the babies quite a lot because it looks proportionately longer and they look a bit fluffier. We don't often get to closely examine the adults in this kind of light, and because the hairs are so sparse and so dark colored and so tough, it makes them very difficult to see. But of course, an elephant definitely doesn't want to be covered in a thick fur coat. They have enough trouble keeping cool as it is. I think there's a ground hornbill calling. I'm just taking out my earpiece for a second. There is a ground hornbill calling. Doot, doot, doot. Doot, doot, doot. Doot, doot, doot. Far away though, towards Treehouse Dam. That is a big bird the size of a turkey, by the way. Sorry, distracted. Okay, well, since our boy is slowly disappearing off and he's very difficult into the sun, let's go and find the rest of his herd, because if he is a male, he is a male, he's a young male, he's not quite at the age of independence, and therefore there will be other elephants around. He hasn't totally left the safety of the herd yet. But just to explain what I mean, using my gloves as an example, about the shape of an elephant's foot. Okay, this is a spongy tissue. Elephants walk like this. So they walk on the tips of their toes, right on the tips like this, and then this spongy tissue beneath it kind of softens the impact that it has, so it can rest its weight like that, and then its leg obviously extends. Whoops, sorry, keep my head out of the way. There's only so much I can contort myself though. The foot sort of, and the leg extends upward like that. Now we are what is known as I can't think of the word. I'm sorry. Okay, so elephants are unguligrade. We're not digitigrade, we are plantigrade. There we go. Sorry, slow moment. So we walk on the flat of our feet. Most of the animals out here don't do that. Their metatarsals, or their carpals and their metacarpals, are all extended up in a way so that what we think of as an animal's knees are actually their ankles. So if we have a look, let's go look at this elephant up in front of us as it walks, because it gives you an idea. The joints bend. We were actually talking about this the other night amongst ourselves. The amazing way that the anatomy of all animals works in the same way, just different, adapted for different purposes. An elephant's front feet bend in the joints in exactly the same direction that ours do. So our wrist only bends this way, inside, towards the inside of our leg, and then our elbow bends this way, like this. And if we stop and we look at this lovely Ellie, you'll see the way that it works, or I'll try and get you to see the way that it works. Okay, so she's going to dig with her, sorry mister, you're a he, not a she. He's going to dig with his front leg. Look at where we think of as the knee being, just the joint just above the foot, or the wrist. That is in fact not the elbow or the knee, that is the wrist or the ankle of an elephant. So that's how far up their bones extend. That is their wrist joint. See how it bends inwards towards the inside of the leg? Then, as we travel up further a little bit, as the elephant walks along, there's his elbow joints. And then his humerus extends up from there into the shoulder. So their joints work in exactly the same way we do. It's just that their carpals and their metacarpals, tarsals and metatarsals are all greatly extended in a way that then allows the elephant to walk on its tiptoes. And that is why they are such silent walkers, disappearing off into the distance. And a really lovely question from Dina. Speaking about elephant toenails, and we'll have to try and find some more ellies for you to look at, Dina. Dina wants to know if they ever lose their toenails, like we do, of course. Sometimes when we stub our toes and you wind up losing the... Ugh, it's a horrible thought. I hate the thought of it. Somehow toenails and fingernails just gives me the creeps. But I don't. I have seen elephants with missing toenails before, and it stands to reason that, yes, perhaps there's a looseness in the connection, perhaps they've hit it hard, or maybe when they're digging, a root or something might shift up and separate the nail from the foot. It somehow seems even worse when you think about it in relation to the size and the thickness of an elephant's toenail. I think it would be very difficult for them to lose them, but it does happen because I've seen them missing toenails before. I'm going to shuffle around, see if I can't find the rest of the elephants of this herd, and then I'm going to go back and look for Shadow. And I'll explain that briefly a bit later, but for now, let's go back to Hayden for an update on his side.
Fantastic little elephant, and I'm sure Jamie's going to find some more very shortly there. We've just been sort of cruising along. We had a beautiful little sort of couple of 100 feet of antelope and zebra back up on Impala Plains. Now we're now coming down towards Treehouse Dam, and we're going to then go just sort of scratch around down here. We've been listening to the radio. There's been a bit of line movement over onto properties that we don't traverse, so we're just keeping an ear open to that. Being International Line Day today, I do really want to champion that, and if you need more information you can go on to websites, loads of different websites as well, and get information today, but championing this magnificent species, African lion. But also, let me just remind you, and I hope you could do some more info or research on it. There's also an Asiatic lion that occurs in a very, very small pocket of protected forest in India called the Gir forest, or Gir, however you like to pronounce it, G-I-R, and there may be a couple of other little areas there that has a small population, but just do a bit of research on that. Asiatic lion, very, very, or just a little bit slighter in size and not as a pronounced mane as the African lion, but still an incredibly beautiful species, and really celebrating that magnificent animal today. And I do love them, as we all do. So wouldn't it be great? We're just sort of, you know, there's many a time that VM and I have just driven around and we've looked for tracks and we've listened to the radio and we've heard that the animals are going back and forth, or we can't quite find where they've gone in. But we've just driven through and we've stumbled upon a male in different locations, and remembering the Birmingham boys have split up, well, fragmented, for want of a better term. Who knows where all the individuals are, but you never know your luck, and you don't know what's around the next corner. So VM's got a great vantage point at the top there as well, looking for tracks out his side, and I can keep a scan just in this beautiful morning light is fantastic for looking for tracks, because it's that oblique light that comes through and gives a little bit of a shadow in the track, in the soft sand. And you do find that a lot of the predators do walk along these roads. It makes kind of good sense, you know, doesn't it? It's like, would you walk on a soft sandy road, or would you walk through the stony or sticky, thorny vegetation? Animals do have a tendency to walk on the roads, particularly the predators. So we do get a lot of lovely tracks, but none here at the moment. So we just sort of go back and have a look where we were this morning. But you know what? I think we should cross back to Jamie, because whilst we're looking, and not huge amounts to see other than my ugly head here talking along. Let's cross over to something much more special with Jamie, and I'm sure you're going to love this.
We've got this lovely scene unfolding in front of us where a female elephant is teaching her little one to dig into underneath the surface of the soil to bring up the root system of what I think used to be an apple leaf tree. And you can see little one, natural curiosity taking over. She keeps climbing into the hole that Mom has made, and then Mom keeps having to push it away. And having a look at this elephant, you really get an idea of the way in which the drought takes its toll. This little baby is still of the age where it wants to suckle. Oh, getting in the way, but little one. Look at her using her feet and her heels to dig, and her toenails, to get back to the discussion we were having about elephant feet. But what I was going to point out was the fact, but she's made it more difficult now, is that this baby elephant is still of the age where it is suckling from Mom. But from what I can see, oh, look at this. An audible crack as she broke the root apart with her heel. They're such amazingly coordinated animals. Sorry, back to what I was trying to say, is that this female in this drought is struggling in terms of resources and keeping up with the demands on her body, and in terms of maintaining that of her offspring as well. So her mammary glands, as we examine her, she's starting to look a little bit thin, but most importantly, her mammary glands are not full at all. So that's the little elephant's ear underneath, and behind her front legs, or between her front legs, another characteristic that they share in common with hyraxes or dussies is their nipples are between their front legs. And this little one would still be suckling from her, and her mammary glands should be full of milk, and they're not. They almost look like those of a young female elephant that hasn't given birth. Now, all of our elephants are struggling to meet the needs, and you can imagine what a toll it takes on an elephant's body. She's just been pregnant for 22 months. 22 months of her life providing for a growing fetus that ends up being 100 kilograms. And then it's born and it suckles from her. 100 kilograms, you can imagine how much milk a little baby elephant requires on a daily basis. Now, luckily for her, at this point, this little one is more than capable of feeding itself, but it still needs milk as well. It is not fully developed yet, not ready to be completely weaned, and whilst it is eating solid food and climbing into the hole, cute, so cute. Life is tough. And my budgie, yes, baby elephants will definitely survive the drought. It depends, though, on how long the drought continues. I think that this, for example, this little baby, although it is a little bit undernourished, not in the best condition I've ever seen a baby elephant. Little one, hey little girl. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be insulting. Yes, little girl. What's happening? Mommy left you. As she goes off after Mom, she's not in the best condition. Little bit thin, but still going to be fine. Oh, here comes the male to take advantage of the digging spot now. It'll be okay, but if the drought were to continue for another year, then it would really seriously take its toll. And of course it always does take its toll for any mammal species on the young and the old. Their systems are already weakened, whether it's through youth or through age, and they won't be able to cope with it. And the pregnant mothers are also not able to sustain and provide the amount of milk that they need. I feel more for the elephants that are currently pregnant, late-term pregnancy. And Dispatch Griffin, welcome once again to our sunrise safari, talking of our suckling elephants. And it is in fact one of the big ways one can tell the difference between male and female elephants, but we'll get to that in one moment. Dispatch Griffin would like to know what the reason is for the suckling between the front legs. Now, I said that it was something that they share in common with hyraxes. And I actually don't have an answer. It's something that they also have in common, of course, with primates as well, including human beings. Now, I don't know what the reason is why it is more suitable for the mammary glands to be positioned in the front of the body rather than the back. Perhaps it's just in the combination with the way that the genital structure has evolved for elephants as well as hyraxes. Of course, most of our animals, our antelope species at least, will suckle behind their nipples are between their back legs. There we go. I'm struggling there with words. My prepositions are not doing me any good this morning. Between their back legs. Then lions and leopards, of course, are somewhere in between, with their nipples spread out throughout their bellies. And then elephants and primates have them between their front legs. What you up to, mister? And, as I said, it's one of the big ways to tell the difference between male and female, because males do have nipples, but they're much, much smaller and more reduced than that of an adult female. It might seem like something obvious, but it's not always that easy to tell the difference between a male or a female. And then one of the big reasons is because elephant testicles are internal. Now, Dina, speaking about our poor Ellie, Dina wants to know why wouldn't it be able to suckle from another cow. It's the interesting thing about elephants. They're as social as lions. The bonds between their herds are intense, but they do not allo-suckle each other's offspring. At least, and the reason behind that, I think, is because in terms of the impact that it has on a mother's resources, she actually can't afford to continue to suckle an elephant calf that is not her own. And of course, most mammals will only lactate if they have been. There are exceptions, of course, but most animals will only lactate if they themselves are pregnant or have given birth. And baby elephants, unlike lions, do not just suckle for a couple of months and then are weaned. They can suckle for up to a year and a half, possibly even right up until they are 3 years old. So it's a huge impact that it has on the mother's body, and she invests a great deal of time and energy into her offspring. So they don't allo-suckle, and you can just imagine how, for some poor elephant now trying to look after 2 calves, how difficult that would be. And they grow fast. There we go. As we're talking about it, the little one's stepping up to suckle. Unfortunately now a little bit further away. Shame, baby. She will still be suckling the calf. And that calf will probably be absolutely fine. It's just notable. Jason, again, lovely to have you on board. Jason would like to know why it is that elephant skin looks like it's been put into the washing machine and stretched and looks so big on their bodies, and basically why they are so wrinkly. Thank you, Brian. It's very much appreciated. Bright sun in my eyes. So, Jason, there's a couple of explanations. One is that it allows for the range of motion that they have, because you can imagine with such a big bulk, every movement, for me, my skin doesn't have to do, we've got wrinkly elbows, but my skin doesn't have to do much in the way of stretching when I bend my elbows. But elephants, when they are that much bigger, that whole movement is more pronounced, so the skin can actually move with it because it is so stretchy, basically is so wrinkled so that it's got room to move. One of the biggest reasons, though, is that those wrinkles actually act to capture the mud and the water that they throw on themselves in summer. So one of the biggest focuses of elephant lives, apart from feeding themselves and maintaining that bulk, is to cool that bulk down. And in 40-degree temperatures, that is a massive job that they have to perform. So they've got the ears, but what they also do is they go and they roll in mud and water, they splash it all over themselves, they have a wonderful time. And it's lovely to watch, and I can't wait for that to start happening once again. Maybe, Brian and I were just talking about it. We were imagining the dams full of water and elephants swimming with their trunks like snorkels. Something I'm looking forward to. Anyway, the cracks basically hold the moisture in place and stop it from evaporating as fast. So it basically enhances that cooling down effect. We've run out of elephants. Just like that. I mean, they're still there, but they've now become grey shapes moving about in the bushes and not really all that apparent to us. Should we go look for Shadow?
I think so.
I think so too. I think that's what we should do. While I go look for Shadow and see if perhaps she was racing back to fetch her cub to take her to a kill, let's head back to Hayden, find out what his plans are for the last few moments of our sunrise safari.
So we've come across a lot of tracks in the last sort of 10 minutes. Leopard droppings in the middle of the road there. Let's just have a look at that. Interesting, because we think it's a male leopard potentially. That is quite fresh. Well, when I say quite fresh, probably last night or early this morning. It's one of these things, isn't it? It's like, what do you do now? What do you do now? We saw those tracks going down there. We just then couldn't find them from there on. I think we should turn around, Viam, you know? And, yeah, it might be worth a look down there. We think it's a male. It's a big print. And it's just worth investigating. And it could be, Viam said it might be Tingana or Mvula. And it just means that we're just going to have a little, he's going to be holed up somewhere probably in a really lovely warm spot getting this warm sun, and he's probably not going to move. Well, we say that. You can't predict anything really with wildlife, but you can always have a little bit of a guess or an assumption that based on the little bit of knowledge that you have on animals, what they're going to do. So I think we're just going to head back down here and just cut back in and start doing crisscrosses and see if we can find those tracks and where they lead to. Wouldn't it be lovely? I did have a sort of line in my mind, and we saw some old line tracks, and then we lost them, but we thought it was a line that we heard vocalizing last night around our camp. Hey guys, how are you? Good to see you.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. Thanks. Hey guys. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Any luck?
Shadows crossed into Voyas. Left Jamie there. Kurula with the Mantuans on Little Gary. And the Sticks is on Ngoro. So yeah.
Yeah, there's some fresh fecal matter in the middle of the path, the road there.
As well, Mafazi and Gala and Konzo that crossed from Triple M North just before the Transformer. Go into Safari and down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. We'll have a little. Yeah, great to see you too, man. Okay. Have a great morning, guys. Stay warm.
Cheers, mate.
So we always, and just to explain to you, if you're a new viewer, why we just spin the camera to the left, and we just do that because we respect the guests' privacy on there, and we just turn away from there whilst I talk to the guys. And you know, it's just a little bit of a handover of information, sharing a little bit of information. Lots of different traffic today, but I do have an urge to go down that creek bed. I do have an urge, Viam. Yeah, I suppose. There's tracks just here. Are they the ones you were looking at before, mate? Yeah. Can you show the viewers that? It'll be really nice to see. I don't know if you've got it. I'm just too close. Let me just move back, folks. It's a lovely track, and in this oblique light, where the sun is low, you can see the track quite nicely. So tell me when, mate. I'm just looking in the monitor here.
Can you just swing this a little bit?
Like that. Is that better? A little bit more. Really hard to see, folks. I'm just trying to look in the monitor here to show you. Yeah, it's very tricky. There's a print. Hang on a second. Let me probably... Easier if I just hop out and just point to it for Liam. Can you see it, Liam? Are you... Just let me... I just got to unplug, folks. There's a beautiful one just there. Can you see that? Just there. There's a beautiful track. Another one going here. So what we'll do is we'll just try and follow those. It does look like a male, and who knows? Who knows what's around the next corner? Oh, lovely comment from Anna Marie there, just saying that she'd love me to see Sindile before I left. I would love to as well, Anna Marie. What an incredible story Sindile has. And as most people know, Sindile has a collar on at the moment, a radio telemetry collar, so they can track Sindile's movements. And it might not look, you know, the most aesthetically pleasing, but I tell you what, it does an incredible, gives us, all the researchers, incredible information about Sindile's movements, and it's really, really important. And I've handled those collars quite a lot. They're not that heavy. They do look a little bit, as I said, not as pleasing as a leopard without one, but please understand that it does really, really great research and great things for leopards and the researchers. Haven't seen those come out, VM. So what we were doing then, folks, is just coming up this road. They did go into here, but we're just checking now to see whether he just went in and marked territory and then came out. Nothing, mate. Okay, let's just have a little look up here, and then if he's crossed this road to the right, we know he's gone in that direction, but if he hasn't crossed this road, we'll know that he's over that direction. So it's a little bit of a process of, you know, mathematics and a bit of geometry and a bit of this and that, but, you know, what Herbie, for example, who works with us, is an absolutely incredible tracker. I'm a simple tracker, you know, I can do a little bit of basic stuff and nowhere near as sort of experienced as the other guys, but it does help to have a little bit of a background. But Herbie goes down another level. Herbie takes it to a level that is that extraordinary, which is called intuitive tracking, and that's where you just get a feeling. You can't actually understand how it happens, because it's off the charts. It's the most epic thing to see a tracker work at that intuitive level. So it is quite, I tell you what, it does get your heart racing a little bit, and you always have to keep your eyes open, because it can be just a little bit of thicket down here, a little bit of vegetation. You could have a leopard lying in it. You saw where Karula was yesterday, and Karula was just in a drainage line. I love that as well, though, because it means that you don't know how many leopards you've passed in your life just in sitting in drainage line or thickets, and I do love that, but always good. We're going to keep going, and it is, as I'd rather you cross over to Jamie now and have a little look at what she's up to, whilst we just sort of scratch around this area and do our utmost to try and pick up these tracks again and see if we can find something for you. But look, lovely to be talking to you about tracking, and there's a whole lot more you can talk about. But let's cross over to Jamie and see what she's up to and get an update from her, and we'll see you just now.
Speaking of talking about tracking, that's exactly what I'm attempting to do here. And I've hit a bit of a roadblock or a stumbling point. There are fresh-ish tracks of shadow now coming back out of Djuma. And they are, sorry, this is awkward parking, but I didn't want to drive over that rock for nothing. There's a fresh-ish. The reason I say ish is they've been driven over, which of course is relatively common on the road called Triple M. I'm confused now. I don't know whether this is her coming back onto Arethusa, or if this is where she went onto Arethusa first thing this morning and then came back to where she crossed on top of my vehicle tracks earlier. So there's a mystery to be unraveled. I'm going to continue further up the road just to try and solve it a little bit and to try and figure out exactly what's going on here. Because my initial suspicion, the fact that she was bolting into that block, was that she was going to fetch the cub. And of course, I'm busy talking about Triple M and Gowrie, Main and all kinds of different road names. Michael would like to know how they get their names. So the main roads will be the main roads because, or it will be something that is named by the Sabi Sand themselves. So something like Cheetah Cut Line, Gowrie Main makes sense because this whole property is called Gowrie, and it's the main road that runs and splits up Little Gowrie into Bigger Gowrie, and there's lots of different Gowries. Complicated and a bit confusing, and I don't really fully understand it, but that's why Gowrie Main is called Gowrie Main. Triple M, Mala comes into it. So Mala, MM, and there's a double M, and I can't remember why Triple M is Triple M and not double M, because double M runs east to west. And then you get the individual landowners' names. So Zoe's Road and Rebecca's Road on Djuma are named after Yuri's daughter. Yuri owns Yuri and Pippa's daughters. Yuri owns Djuma. Weaver's Nest. Presumably there was a Weaver's Nest there once. Elephant Skull. Same thing, Elephant Skull. But some of the road names actually tell you a great deal about the history, and there's some really nice stories behind them. Where I used to work, there was a beautiful road. There's an expression when you say goodbye in the local languages, you say, if somebody is going, you say hlalagahle, which means go well. If they're staying somewhere and you're saying goodbye to them, you say salagahle, which means stay well, essentially. And there was a road called hlalagahle on the reserve that I used to work at because there was a memorial for a site where there was a plane crash that killed one of the owners of the reserve back many, many decades ago. And that's quite beautiful because it's understated in its own way. You know, it's not called Memorial Road or anything like that. It's just Go Well. The road is called Go Well. So there are some lovely, sometimes sad, sometimes happy stories. And a lot of the time they're named after animals. Nkombi Road, which would be Rhino Road, or whatever else it happens to be. And it'll be the decision of the landowners themselves. And each and every place will have different roads. And sometimes people struggle with road names, myself included. And it's often if something spectacular happened, or named after a person. So Aubrey's Road, presumably named after Aubrey the bumpy road, Aubrey the guide. Perhaps he made the road. Oh, there's lioness tracks here as well. How interesting. Lots happening on Triple M over the last few hours. It's a pity we seem to have mistimed our visits to Triple M. We generally try and avoid driving along Triple M just because it's so bumpy. And you'll find that road names also tell you a great deal about the history of the reserve. On our left is Arethusa. As we look in, see if perhaps Shadow hasn't decided to pop back in here. I just have a feeling though that today Triple M is the place to be. Because I think Shadow left her cub on Djuma, went hunting, caught something in Arethusa, and is going to come back along this route. Remains to be seen if I'm correct. Shadow's been doing a marvelous job of disappearing. As soon as people find her, she loses them. And I wonder if she's not doing it intentionally as well. Perhaps because Sindile's been putting her under pressure. I don't know. I mean, we haven't got any updates about where Sindile is. What is going... Oh, somebody's doing a U-turn over there. Could not quite work that one out. Just wondering whether it's worth my while investigating what's happening. Nope, I think it was just a wrong turn. Oh well. Sometimes it's worth following the human signs as well as the animal signs. You never know what you might find. Like Brent racing off after the Mala vehicle that was speeding along the boundary to find the cheetah that were coming along. Okay, one more loop. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to do this. She's not... I don't think those tracks are fresh enough. And I think if they were her coming back, she'd have the cub with her. So as far as we know, Shadow's cub is alive and well and kicking. We haven't seen her in ages, and I really want to see how much she's grown. Particularly with the undivided attentions of Mum. I just have a feeling we need to go back to that. Very valid question coming through from Scott. Very, very good point. And Scott's question is, how do we know which tracks belong to which leopard? We usually do on the basis that of the area that that leopard is in. So if it's a male or a female, we can work out from where they are exactly which individual it may be. That's not foolproof, clearly, because territories, animals don't read textbooks, their territory boundaries are fluid. Particularly at the moment with the leopards, with Karula for example, she's with her cubs moving in a relatively small area, so if we find tracks in that area there's a good chance it's her, but we never absolutely take it for granted. If we find tracks in this area, the reason I know this is Shadow is because the guys saw her, so I know it's Shadow. Even though we missed out on seeing her, it was most definitely her. But you have got to be careful about making assumptions like that, and it's particularly difficult with male leopard tracks to try and guess which individual it is that you're looking at. And I have no doubt that I have more than once confused Mvula and Tingana's tracks before. I haven't really had the pleasure of spending much time with Quarantine or Kanuma, but I imagine I would have made I would never have made assumptions with them, because young male leopards are all over the show, as are old male leopards. You've got to be very careful of making an assumption. And then, of course, every now and again, you're going to get a leopard that nobody's ever seen or heard of walking along a road. It's looking for a territory, perhaps, deciding where it might go. Now, just speaking about our different road names and the history behind them, James Richard would like to know, within our Traverse area, whether there is a particular road that I would like to know the history behind. The short answer is yes. Am I only allowed to choose one? Sure. It's a very difficult one. I'm tempted to say Tjolo Road on Arathusa, because I have absolutely no idea what it means. Or perhaps the road called Saffron, because nobody can find a saffron tree there. Or maybe Twin Dams is an easy one, Vulture's Nest is an easy one, Nyala Road, it's an easy one. I can guess some of the ones, so I'm going to try and use... Chijolo I think is going to be my answer, because I have absolutely no idea what that means. But I have a feeling that it means something truly significant. But there's lots, and I'm sure she's here. I'm sure she's in this drainage system. She loves this spot. This is where we used to find Sindile all the time, in the Tambuti thickets here. I'd love to know exactly where she is. Not far. I have no doubt she is not far away. Let me pull over and just let this vehicle come past. Now, while we shuffle off the road and just wave goodbye to everybody, let's jump on the board with Hayden.
So folks, the journey continues, crisscrossing these roads and looking for tracks coming in, coming out. We saw that leopard track come in. We're struggling to find it coming out. I mean, it could, at this time of the morning, could be lying 10, 30 feet away from us sometimes, and it's tricky, very, very tricky to see. But we're just keeping on looking and doing our best to just try and... VMs just thinks he's seen a track going out. Tell me if I'm going to drive over them, mate. going...
I think that's all female that's sleeping.
Yeah, okay, smaller tracks over there. You might be able to just show everyone that track. There's a lovely one just in the light there, VM, on the right hand side there. Smaller track, yeah, it's a perfect. Just at the sort of, if we split the screen into, maybe north, south, east or west, just go VM, pan down to sort of the east there, just that one there. Get it right, yeah, that's the one. See, it's sort of at the east of the screen, or 3 o'clock on the screen, about 4 o'clock now. That's a beautiful leopard track there, and we think that may be Karula. It's a female, it's much smaller, but that's a lovely one. And this, folks, as I said, this is one of the most beautiful times to look at tracks, this time of the day, when the sun is low, that oblique angle, afternoon or morning light. And it's really, really important because you can see them from when we're driving. When the sun is directly up above and the track is full of light, it's a little bit tricky. As I said before, very experienced trackers can track in any condition. And that was just going back to Herbie, you know. Being around that guy, he's so modest, and he just has a laugh when you give him a compliment. But the compliments, you know, we give him, we sincerely mean that he is like a level like you just cannot believe. And when you do work with people like that, yeah, going which way, mate? So VM's just seen out his side of the vehicle, those tracks again. So we believe, I just don't want to destroy them. Tell me if I'm okay, mate. Okay, let's just have a little look. Just going to show you this track. We think we've got this boy again. Look at that. That's a cracking track, isn't it? Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm just trying to see what direction. And this is all a little bit of forensic, really crude forensic science on my part. This is when you feel like you had a Herbie in your pocket, because Herbie would then just be able to just give you loads more information. But we're always constantly learning, folks, always, about tracking, and it's a really beautiful thing because a lot of the time you don't see animals, and it's great to know that they're around, and great to know that you can put the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together. And you should have a go at it at home, even just with simple you know, tracking with creatures. If you've got kids, I used to do a really cool thing with kids. I'd go through a woodland and I'd actually have like my big boots on, and I would go off a couple of, there we go, go off about 20 minutes earlier and then see if they could track me. We've definitely got those tracks going through here. I do apologise, folks, I'm not turning to camera because I'm looking at these tracks. And where was the last one? There's the last one. And it is tricky, folks, as well, because people have driven down this road this morning, so you might have a track that what we call has been obliterated, and it can be obliterated by a car, another animal, the wind, the rain, loads of different things. Anything? We've got a question from Dispatch Griffin, and I think that's your call sign or your handle there. Lovely to have you on board. And you'd like to know how Quarantine, the male, got his name. Well, Quarantine used to be seen up on the quarantine, what we call the quarantine area. And that's how he got his name. He just used to be a leopard that hung around there. And yeah, it wasn't quite, it's not a super fitting name for a leopard, is it? So we call him Mr. Q now. But you know, sometimes we refer to him as Quarantine. But wonderful question, and a few people have asked that in the past as well. And I totally hear you, because when I first heard of his name, I thought that was quite an odd name for a leopard. But thank you for your question. Great to have you on board. we're always listening for things too. VM and I just went down a drainage line there, and there was grey loweries or go-away birds vocalising, so we had a little look around there. Oh, I've lost them. Okay, well let's go around. VM's got a bit of an intuitive feeling that he's gone around this road. We'll try and pick it up here. So just to touch a little bit more on tracking, and please understand that I'm certainly no expert, but I have had the great fortune of spending time with equally sensational trackers on the other side of southern Africa, as the Shangaan are here, the San Bushmen in Namibia, and it's spine-tingling stuff when you walk with these people through the bush, and you see their intuition and you feel it. So there's simple tracking, the sort of stuff that I can do. There's systematic tracking, which is the next level up. Certainly the Brent Leo Smiths and the Stephs and James and Jamie. And then you get to the Herbie level, the intuitive tracking, which are just amazing to be around. And the Bushmen that I work with in Namibia are just that. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. The Bushmen have this sort of feeling that, you know, the animal's like left a ball of twine behind them, and you're following that ball of twine to the animal. It's quite you see sometimes picking up the track and all these different amazing things, that it's very beautiful to be around. It's quite a spiritual tracking experience. Can't see anything here yet for him, but again, we are going to cross back over to Jamie for a bit of an update on her side, and we'll keep looking, folks. We'll do our best, and we'll come back to you.
Oh, while Hayden goes off in search of different creatures to show you, I've been doing the same thing. Unfortunately, there's lots of elephants. I tried to reverse track and forward that sort of combination I was talking about in terms of finding shadow, but there seems to be ellies everywhere, and some of them are crossing the road in front of us. Let us go and catch them as they do. I have no doubt she's in here somewhere. Well, I know she is, because we just missed her going off across over our vehicle tracks. Another thought that I had about Shadow and her elusive behavior is she's also under enormous pressure. While Sindile is an assumption that is dangerous to make because he might have moved out from the area completely. I wonder if she isn't hunting these impala. I'm sorry, I'm distracted now. There's ellies there, but I just been watching these impala herd as we've driven backwards and forwards, and she would have been well aware that these impala are here. And a leopard hunt is a very slow process. Slow and gradual, and they've been generally moving steadily in the direction that she disappeared into. Sarah, welcome. Sarah's watching in California, and Sarah, presumably it is much warmer there than it is here. Sarah's wondering about how many different types of impala we get in the Sabi Sand. The answer is only one type, which is the general type. It's the most common antelope in this area. They are all the same. The one variant that you might see every now and again, there's two actually, but they're not different species, but I suppose you could classify them as different types. And that is the either albino impala, so white or leucistic impala, and then melanistic impala, black impala. Now in certain circles in South Africa, the leucistic or the black impala, melanistic impala, both of which are just basically color genetic abnormalities, they've got too much melanin or no color pigment in them, are worth vast amounts of money. However, out here in an open system, in a wild system where the animals are hunted, black, pure black is a disadvantage, as is pure white. White in terms of the skin and being exposed to the harsh African sunlight, and black for the same reason as white, and also the fact that they are far more visible to predators. They're an easy target. essentially. I wonder if she's not hunting them. There's also a type of impala known as a black-faced impala, and that is also worth huge amount of money and also basically just a color variant. It is not a different species, it's just a color variant. Let me just shift out of the way here and have a quick chat to the guide that's coming up on our right. How's it, guys? Hello, Cedric. How are you? Good, thanks. Hello, everybody. Yeah, she vanished in here, but I'm wondering if she's not hunting these impala.
Yeah, maybe we could do that.
Yeah, no, she hasn't come back out, and she disappeared into this drainage line. I wonder if she's not patiently just waiting. Well, we'll see. Did you see her with the cub this morning, or?
No, I thought I saw something there, but I don't know, but I don't think it was.
Okay, because I found her tracks coming out, and then when she went back in here, I wonder if she didn't leave the cub on our side.
Or this side.
I don't know. I've got no idea.
She's up and down. She came from our cars last night. Or
Okay.
This morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But with Saleh maybe.
Yeah, Grillam and Twan just was on the side.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Further south towards Lord Dari
Cool. It's been one of those mornings. Just missed.
Oh, you didn't see? Did you see she?
No, just her tracks on top of our tracks.
Oh, jeez. And then there's also two Mufuzzi and Gallon-Quanzas going across Triple M south, north. Apparently there the transformer went west just for two Mufuzzis.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Perhaps we shall... I know that the Nkumas are on Buffelshoek, but I don't think it's all of them.
Yeah.
So perhaps they're around.
Just two Nkumas going straight there.
Okay.
The transformer looked like maybe two Nkumas.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, cheers everybody. Bye. Where were we? Sorry about that, everybody. Just having a quick chat to Cedric from Arathusa. He's been giving us an update on what's happening. Karula is quite happily still with her cubs. And Jason, speaking of our different antelope species and different types, Jason, absolutely you could see sable here. The first sable in 18 years was seen on the dam camera a couple of months ago during the drought, when it was obviously desperately seeking water. Now, a sable, for those of you who don't know, is a magnificent dark-coloured antelope. It's absolutely huge, with enormous black curving horns. Both females and males have horns. Gemsbok, no. The oryx species are more of desert dwellers. They are one of my favorite antelope species. I've been fortunate enough to work with them in the Kalahari before. And they're actually quite scary antelope. They're very, very strong and very courageous. So they're used to fighting off their attackers. Obviously, they live in vast, open, arid areas. So they've had to learn to fight to defend themselves rather than to try and hide away or to outrun their attackers. And they've got huge spear-like horns that stick out of their heads. Magnificent creatures, or both of them, the sable and the gemsbok, belonging to what we call the horse tribe of antelope, along with roan. So sable is something that we could see on these live drives. We'll get very, very excited if we do. I can promise you that much. Whereas with gemsbok, no, unfortunately not in this area. We could also see something like an eland, the largest of the antelope species. Again, unlikely in this particular area, but they are found in the Kruger National Park, which means that they could wander onto Djuma every now and again. It's worth, you know what? I think it might be worth sticking with these impala. Funnily enough. Because it sounds like from what Cedric was telling me, Shadow may well have been hunting the whole of last night and this morning. She came from the Arathusa Lodge side. And impala are difficult creatures to hunt. They are sharp-eyed, constantly alert. Ears out. They're very, very difficult to sneak up upon. It means that they're quite reliable warning systems. In the bush, if you hear them alarm calling, giving off those sharp barks. And slowly but surely these antelope are sneaking towards where Shadow disappeared. Now, it's not often that I stay with impala herds for extended periods of time, although they are lovely antelope. But I'm going to turn around and I'm going to stay with these antelope. I'm just going to turn around so we can shift the sun a little bit and we can watch the direction that they're looking in. They're all moving steadily, slowly but surely, into where she was. Her tracks didn't come out, which is, I was expecting her to cut the corner and go into Hoffman's. Let's just see. Now, speaking of Shadow, actually, just to go back to the conversation about how elusive she has been, the other thing is that she's under enormous pressure from a female leopard called Salaeshe and her almost fully grown cub Tiani. Now, we've been lucky enough to see them. I think Salaeshe has been seen twice. We've seen Tiani once when she was on Arathusa, but they are moving further and further into Shadow's territory. As to why that may be, who knows? Pressure from another female, perhaps, or perhaps Salaeshe looking to secure a piece of territory for her daughter. But it might be one of the reasons behind Shadow's somewhat, although she's always been unpredictable, but her elusive behavior. I'm going to try this test of patience here and just see if we don't have any luck with this impala herd. But while we sit here waiting, let's go across to Hayden for an update.
Well, folks, we've just come to a spot here that we felt he may have been coming to. He's been seen before. VM is wondering whether it's Tingana, his favourite leopard. It could be another male, it could be Mvula. Not sure. We've just come to this place called Chilapan, and we are looking. We said there's a chance of what's called obliteration of the track, which is vehicles driving down there through the morning and the night. And we drove down there ourselves this morning, and it was very dark when we first drove down at 0600 this morning. So there's a chance that we could have driven over some of the tracks, but we picked up the odd one coming through here, and we're just still going to have a little look around. But in the meantime, just before we do that, I wanted to just show you, I'm just cleaning the dust off my iPad here. Now, I don't know how this is going to go for light, VM, but tell me what you think you can see there. Is that all right? Okay, I'll try and keep as still as I can, folks. But that's just two little really crude diagrams of the difference, and I've showed this many times before, the difference between a line and a leopard track. And there's a little sort of W shape or at the bottom of that, and the line is a little bit more straight across the bottom. They're all different depending on what we call substrate or actual surface they're on. Sand is different to mud, is different to wet sand, and so on, and deep sand. But the toe, the pad, I should say, the pad on the line is a lot more elongated than it is. It's quite a really snug little circle, much more circular on the leopard than the line. So, and the size difference is quite obvious. When you see a line print, you definitely can tell the difference. It's a much bigger print. But just something just to give you a real basic look at it. And there's something lovely about tracking, and if you want to investigate more about tracking, it's a great thing you can do. There's loads of different people around online that are trackers that offer courses and all different things, but just a lovely little thing. It's a great thing to share with your kids as well. Have a little look through your local wildlife areas and see if you can pick up tracks. It doesn't have to be a big predator like a leopard or a lion or anything, or even a big predator where you live. Have a look at tiny little tracks from invertebrates, beetles, and really cool things and birds, lots of different bird tracks as well. So a great thing to do with your kids, go out and have a little tracking day and see if you can identify them. I'm sure you can get a book or an app in your area. James Richard, how are you, mate? Great to have you on board, and thank you very much for your question. James, you're asking whether there's a species in Australia, and please, James, I'm not being rude, I'm just looking around at the same time as answering your question, because there could be a leopard holed up somewhere around here. when you see that little bit of movement and you get that, you get a little, or you just think you see spots, it gives you, your heart skips a beat. James, you're asking whether there's any species in Australia that are endangered that I think need more assistance or more recognition. Look, I just getting back to Australia and really ploughing myself into back into the and bringing myself up to speed with exactly what's going on. VM's just seen another track. He's following the road, mate.
Yep.
Fantastic. James, there's two species that I'm very, very passionate about, and they're smaller. They're much smaller than leopards. One is a bird called a regent honeyeater. Regent honeyeater, magnificent bird, and there's been some really great work done on them. It needs to be done more. The zoo that I work at is doing great work on it, and if you have a look at Taronga Zoo's website and look up Regent Honeyeater, it'll show you the breeding programs that we're doing with that. And the other species, James, is the corroboree frog. Now, corroboree sounds like a bit of an interesting word. It's an Aboriginal word, and you can have a look up on that same website, the Taronga Zoo or Taronga Conservation Society website, and it is a really beautiful species of frog that is under great threat. When we first got onto the project, there was only about 50 left in the wild, and now we've got a massive breeding program going for them. But again, I think they still need more recognition, because, James, I think the message behind this that I'm trying to say is a lot of the small stuff and a lot of the, not, really impressive megafauna don't get the limelight, mate. They don't, and you know as well as I do, they should. All the invertebrates, a living creature or a plant needs as much recognition as the more higher status ones, I suppose, the big sort of megafauna. So all these little things really matter to us too, James, and there are a couple of species that I really do champion in Australia. The corroboree frog and the regent honeyeater. Two beautiful species of smaller animals, but just need the same help as everything else. Thanks for being on board, James. Great to have you with us as always, mate. I've got a question from Tasha. What's my favourite animal to track? I've got a few. I've got definitely a few. There's certainly ones that make your adrenaline rush. Obviously, the bigger. Just excuse me, Tasha, for 1 second. Have you got anything out there, mate? Yeah, I haven't either. But Tasha, we're just talking a little bit about the track, so I'm just asking VM if he's seen anything out the window. We don't have windows. They're out the truck. So we're hoping that there's a potential that he is, or that leopard is in this area just here. Tasha, the animals I love to track, I have to tell you something really interesting. There's animals that occur in southern Africa that I love, elephant tracking, and any cat, particularly leopard, is amazing to track. But one animal that's really very, very interesting in very different conditions is gorillas. My goodness, tracking gorillas in the montane rainforests in Uganda is one of the most extraordinary experiences, and again, how those trackers do it is astounding. They do know where the animals bed down that night, but sometimes they don't get there before the animals move off, and you've got to track not necessarily by footprint and knuckle print, but by broken vegetation and looking at tracks and signs in the rainforest. And it's hot, sweaty, sometimes very, very wet work. but it's another great thing. So lots of different animals, but I love going out with someone like Steph as well. Steph would show you the tiniest little track of the smallest invertebrate and talk you through it and turn it into an absolutely incredible story. So I just love being around people that can teach me things and teach me about not just the big things but the little things as well. Thank you very much for your question, Tasha. All right, folks, well, you know what? I'm going to leave it here for the minute and just say farewell to you this morning. And we'll carry on and maybe pick these up later on this afternoon. And I just wanted to firstly just say thank you again for being with us. It's always a great privilege for me to be here working with this incredible team and working with you again as well, and having all the wonderful feedback and comments and discussions. But lovely to be on board again, and thank you for being, if you were part of the school's hour this morning, I'm really great. I'm really happy that you could do that as well. We'll carry on with this. You never know what's around the next corner. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye. I'll see you this afternoon. We're going to cross over to the wonderful Jamie Paterson. We'll see you this afternoon.
And we are so spoiled having the wonderful Hayden Turner back with us for just a few days. It's been an absolute pleasure driving with him. And so it has been one of those mornings that has been quiet and beautiful, but definitely quiet. And the animals have been evading us. Brian and myself have narrowly missed 2 leopards. Actually, we've narrowly missed potentially 5 leopards, counting Karula's 2 cubs, as well as Shadow's cub. Most devastating news. However, it does mean that this afternoon has very good prospects, and also it just goes to show, but because this is live and it is wildlife, we don't know where the animals are going to be. We don't know what they're going to do, and it makes the time that we get to spend with them when we do get to see them even more special. I mean, imagine if we had lion cubs and leopard cubs every drive. We'd get so bored. No, we wouldn't. That's absolutely not true. However, we can't have a lion and leopard cubs every single drive. Tasha? A lovely question coming through to you, since I've been hugely unsuccessful with my leopard tracking morning. Tasha would like to know what my favorite animal to track is. And Tasha, I'm a bit biased because I spent a considerable amount of the time over the past 4 years tracking an animal that is very near and dear to me that we do not show on these live safaris, and that is rhino. To me, rhino, I enjoy tracking the most. I've had some incredible experiences tracking rhinoceros. I've been able to sit 20 meters from a mother feeding her calf. I have been able to really enjoy some truly spectacular moments. I've had some scary moments as well, but I have been fortunate enough with both black and white rhino to spend a considerable period of time with them on foot. They're also, dare I say it, a little bit easier than leopards to track when you're out and about on foot. Their feet are slightly bigger, you know, just fractionally, and they are slightly heavier, again, just fractionally, than a leopard. I enjoy tracking rhino. It's, I think, one of my favorites, and they also give you the opportunity, if you get it right, if you do it properly, and you can watch a rhino for ages without them having the faintest clue that you are there. And that, of course, is what we aim to do when we're on foot with animals, is to have as little impact as we can on them as possible. And tracking, the best sighting to have on foot is when you've gone in, found the animal, it doesn't even know that you're there, and you go out again without it changing one moment of its day, without a flick of an ear. Those are the truly special moments. It's hard to do, but when you get it right, it comes with a certain degree of absolute pleasure and satisfaction that you've been lucky enough to view these amazing animals on foot. So there you go, Tasha. That is my answer. But of course, it's a difficult question because there are so many different animals that one loves to see on foot and to track down. And there's a certain pride one gets when you follow a leopard on foot and are successful. And perhaps that is the pride that I will be feeling this afternoon when I go back in search of Shadow, who has evaded me now. We've come so close to seeing her a couple of days in a row. It's enough now. And we're going to go back and we're going to find that Sneaky Leopard, and hopefully get a chance to see her lovely cub as well. Unfortunately, we have run out of time for this morning, and it is time for us to say our goodbyes and our thank yous. So a big thank you to Brian, always the first on my list of people to thank, because of course without Brian none of this would be possible, without our wonderful cameraman, as well as to Kirsty and to Jerry in final control. And a vast and enormous thank you to all of you watching across the globe, sending through your questions, jumping on board with us when we do our school drives, and enjoying the pleasure that we get out of showing children our magical world. Hope you have a wonderful day and that you will catch up with us on the Sunset Safari. But for now, goodbye everybody.